Jesus James Angleton, the way you spin that story round. Always sharp, just like a tack when you're tracking the price of the dollar and pound. Ow! But drop the narrative, that thing that you inherited. Your history homos chariot just pulled up outside. Scott, William, Patrick on the scene, they're breaking up the subroutine. Something's crackling in your brain, and K-Ultra make you go insane. Hey, don't you know we're only on the case for a good time, baby? Took a Rhodes pill, now I'm reading these books for a long time, baby. Honey pots and psyop traps, you can trust the plan until you snap. Slop conspiracy everywhere. History homos clear the air. Close your eyes, what's truth or lie? Hiding in the space between. Reality's a tangled scene. Tune in, you'll know what I mean. Close your eyes, what's truth or lie? Hiding in the space between. Reality's a tangled scene. Tune in, you'll know what I mean. Hey, history homos only on the case for a good time, baby. Took a Rhodes pill, now I'm reading these books for a long time, baby.
And we're live. Welcome back to the show. Joining me tonight are all History Homos alums. Of course, Patrick, and also joining me this week is Jared. Welcome back to the show, Jared.
Hello, I'm glad to be back. I'm so excited to be back. I'm really excited about our subject tonight.
Yep.
It's awesome.
You approached me with this idea, and I said, without a moment's hesitation, said yes, of course, obviously. I do want to preface this by saying that this is not the least discussed topic in the world. This is probably one of the more discussed topics in the world. However, I do think I've been going back and forth with both of these guys this week and weekend prior. And I think that we're going to have at least a little bit off the beaten path discussion about it. So this week we're discussing the seminal, as all of his movies are,
The Shining.
The Shining by
Oh,
Stanley Kubrick, which is a 1980 film, if I'm not mistaken.
correct. Yes.
A
This
lot of people think
is
it's earlier, although it was produced, I think, for a
yeah.
couple years in the late 70s.
Technically, if you want to talk about the images you're seeing, they were taken in the 70 or
Right.
79 probably. So yeah. But and this is
Also, on a
all
metaphysical level, I mean, in 1990 it was still the 80s. You know what I mean?
sure.
Like,
Yeah,
didn't not
yeah.
much changed in that one year.
No, yeah, it's not like you round a corner or anything with the
Yeah.
hip hip hooray or anything, but you know, no one's ever had a New Year's party like the Fourth of July party in 1921 at the fucking Overlook.
Probably
I
not. No.
what a bunch of goons and ghouls in that picture. So th this movie what ran for 11 months of shooting? Is
I'm
that
not surprised by that. Yeah.
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 Probably
I'm
his
not.
second longest production, other than Eyes Wide Shut, I'm gonna guess.
Oh yeah, that was like 17 years or something.
No, but it was like 21 months, I think.
Well, doesn't he
Ridiculous.
still hold the world record for the most shot or takes
Mm.
Yeah.
um
I think,
with
yeah,
this
for,
film?
is it this one?
Yeah, with the like Scatman Crothers.
Oh
Okay.
no. Poor
Oh,
Scat Man.
yeah.
Oh, you got it the
You
worst.
got to appreciate like the genius of Kubrick because you know he's and I've been saying this to Scott the whole time. He's on like a whole other level. Like we're talking
Yeah.
IQ off the charts.
Yeah.
He's like a once every 50 years kind of person.
Yeah.
Like what when he's not making movies, he's playing chess and solving like complex mathematical problems.
Or
Like
he at least wanted people to think that about him for sure.
but
Didn't hurt.
even if he wasn't, he was like a master troll at the
Yeah.
like
Mm.
he could do all of these things.
I think his
Well,
work speaks for itself in that regard.
absolutely. And I guess we have to talk about like or at least cover a little bit of the source material.
Of course,
Hmm.
yes. And we're not, and by the way, I've got a rant in me about Stephen King.
Well,
Say
so do
At all
no.
I.
times.
So, but
So
that's for not for tonight because there's so much ground to cover. Just so it must be said that this film is completely separate and different than the book source material, The Shining by Stephen King, which in its own right, and by the way, when I say I have a rant about Stephen King, it's not that I hate Stephen King, it's that he used to be great and what the
Mm.
fuck happened. Um, but
He got off
this
cocaine is what happened, Scott. He lost
that's
his
not
edge.
not saying these two things are not correlated. Um, but it must be said that that is an excellent book in its own right, but it is
Hmm.
not what we're talking about. They are completely separate and particularly thematically.
Mm.
Like plot wise, they are somewhat similar, but thematically, they are couldn't be more different.
Mm.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
And
Jinx.
I will say that so a couple of things. I've been to the Stanley Hotel in Estes Park.
Oh no
And
shit.
that's the place they shot it, or the place that it was
No.
based on.
That's
Yeah.
where Stephen King spent the night and got the inspiration to make The Shining.
Okay,
Hmm.
It's 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 not in the middle of nowhere now, but it might have been 40, 50 years ago when him and his
okay.
wife were staying there. Um Super like nice looking outside. I didn't go inside, but I saw like beautiful area. I actually probably sent you pictures when I was over there. Uh,
I
this was
believe
like
I remember them. Yeah.
3 years ago. Um, but I was there, and while we were in Denver or the Denver area, we had to drive through a whiteout. I wasn't driving; I was under the influence. Uh, my dad was driving. It was the scariest fucking thing I've ever been in my entire life.
Sure.
It is like you can't see in front of you.
We're from New England. Me and Patrick have no problem driving in that kind of environ.
Not on the edge of a freaking mountain on something called the Golden Stairs or some shit.
Is
That's
that
what
a
it was
real?
like.
What is that? What it's really called, or is that in the movie?
Let me it was literally in the film where they shoot them driving up what they call it, Sidewinder
Yeah.
Pass. That is actually shot on a road that it's like an eighth wonder of the world type deal. It's called I think the native phrase is the road to the sun, but
Okay.
ironically, it's like the only way you can pass it is, when you're as far away from the sun as possible.
Right.
Um, but yeah, that's that's not where it's actually shot.
Right.
The Stanley
Um,
Hotel, just the inspiration.
Look, so yeah, so Stephen King stayed the night in this spooky old hotel, and he got this idea like, oh, wouldn't it be great to have a ghost story in a hotel? But like, I guess his spin on it is the Stephen King version. And again, we're only going to talk about this for a minute. But the Stephen King thing is it's like his alcoholism is sort of like is being in what's the word
Nightmare
interacted with.
fuel.
It's which interacted with the supernatural thing that's at the location that they're at or
Hmm.
whatever.
It's a catalyst or something, right?
Yes, correct.
Well,
Um,
they are called spirits, aren't they, gentlemen?
Yes. Actually, the reason,
Yes.
the etymology behind that is because they used to pick up people who are drunk on the street and spirit them away to America to work as indentured servants. That's where that comes from.
So, so what's the etymology of the phrase "spirit someone away"? I guess it's a
It's like taking them
ghostly.
like a ghost in the night. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. Uh, yeah. So easy enough. Like it's a very bare bones plot
Yeah. It
structure.
leaves a nice palette for what Kubrick did with it, obviously, which is inject in it all of the things that Stanley Kubrick always puts in his movies, which is not a criticism, mind you. It's pretty elevated shit.
Mm.
Because that's exactly like, and this is like the funny part is that like out of all of King's adaptations, he's openly stated how much he hates or dislikes
Yeah.
over the years The Shining, which is strange because like it's probably one of his best adaptations.
Oh, it's the
I'd say
only
Yeah.
one that's very, very good.
I'd say The Shawshank Redemption.
Okay, yeah, you're right. He's got a few. But here's the thing. Oh, this goes
Green
back to a
Mile.
bonus episode we recently did. But Patrick, Stephen King is kitsch and Kubrick is
Huh.
avant-garde.
Okay. Yeah. Um, Kubrick would love to hear that because he, as I've been reading about, was a big fan of surrealism,
I
much
bet. Yeah.
like much like some other characters that I will mention as asides as we go along. Um, Jared, sorry.
But no, but there's usually a very good indicator of like how good his adaptations are because if he doesn't like them or doesn't talk about them, then they're probably really good. And
Yeah.
I
Mm.
gave this point to Scott that like a few years ago when The Dark Tower and It came out.
Don't bring that fucking shit up on me without you're inviting me to a rant.
All right, I'll stop. I'll stop. I'll stop.
But
Oh,
he,
no,
I know what
no.
you're gonna say though, is he was
Keep
like,
it
"Oh
up.
man, this Dark Tower movie is gonna be great," and it's
No,
shit.
it wasn't gonna be good. No,
Yes.
never
Well,
had a chance.
He's a bad barometer
Uh,
for what is going to make good translation to film, which is
yeah.
ironic because I actually unironically, well, maybe somewhat ironically, like Maximum Overdrive.
mm.
Oh, he was so fucking coked out on
I
that.
love that movie. That movie's fucking sick. Talk about kitsch, by the way.
It's a
Um,
great movie. I love it too, but
that's
he was
schlock.
so fucking coked out on that.
Yeah. Okay. So enough about fucking Stephen AI King. He literally is an AI now, brain in a jar,
Oh,
spitting out libtard tweets and more books where he remixes. By the way, I love how I saw someone on Reddit point this out a couple weeks ago, but like he's still writing books or whatever, but like it's like him writing little kid characters now is so insane because he'll like have a kid like reference a 70s TV show or something like the Banana Splits or something. And it's just like, bro, you're 90 years old. You can't write kids anymore. Enough. Hang
uh,
it up.
but that's not even just not being able to write kids. It's like, aren't you aware as a writer that you're making an illusion and it's one that's anachronistic.
I
It doesn't.
told myself I would not do
It's
this rant.
never mind, Stephen. Out.
I literally have like genuinely a 25. I timed myself earlier. I did the rant to my coworker at work and I did the full rant. It was like a 22-minute rant about this fucking shit. So no, we're not doing it.
Um,
We're talking about The Shining.
the book. It's what's the story from Kubrick's secretary that they brought in a big stack of ghost story books that he requested. I guess he intended to do a horror film, like
Yeah.
which,
Next.
you know, and this is in, in the late 70s after he's given up on Napoleon and, that whole period.
Yeah.
But he's, I guess, stopped. He was throwing books at the wall for hours, and she could hear the thuds up against the wall until it stopped for a while. And she went to check and make sure he wasn't dead. Instead, he was reading The Shining, The Shinning.
Nice.
So, yeah, amusing. He's got all these. You're not wrong. He would certainly love to have this grand tapestry, if you will, of anecdotes and stories and testaments to his genius.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. Lore
yeah.
about him.
But it sucks because he, like,
You want to know more about the guy as opposed to the fake or perhaps hyper real stories about him.
let's do something real quick before for anyone here that might have tuned in just hoping for a review that God help them, who knows how they got
I
here,
know you
but
have you never heard of it before.
welcome to the History Homos, folks. Um, what do you say to people that say, about anyone reading into any film to this degree when they say, you're just overthinking it, you're just reading too much into it, you're
Well, with Kubrick, that's not that you have an antidote to that is he actually has gone on record to say like, no, everything has a meaning. I'm just not going to tell you what it is.
right. He's
When
I
other
think
people, sometimes people will say that, and I'm looking into another director's movies, and like they kind of have a point, but with Kubrick, they don't have that point. Like it
hmm.
genuinely, he's the guy who he did pick everything meticulously. Like we have him on record saying this.
Yeah, and he, certainly took his time to do so. And he put the crew through all sorts of misery.
Yeah,
If you remember, I think something about he had the gold room tiled individually in these little gold tiles that were
yeah.
supposed to
Which gold
resemble
room though, right? Hmm.
the biggin,
Hmm.
the biggin.
Yeah, there's
Uh,
two gold rooms,
there
folks.
are,
We'll
right?
get there.
Yeah. But he had that tiled entirely in silver. And then walked in, looked at it, and went, change it to
That
gold.
rules. Actually, that
Change it.
rules. He probably did that as like a power move.
Yeah, which
because he could.
Yeah. You're
is that
Because
Stanley
he
Kubrick. Obviously,
he's
this dude faked the moon landing. Obviously, like we're gonna fucking. By the way, this movie's not about the moon landing. I just want to get that in front of that.
Oh, you know what? That's one thing I would like say. Yeah, I could see that. Like he's just dropping subtle hints that he faked the moon landing. But I mean, you
He doesn't
know,
have to. He did it.
did
you know,
he?
Yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Who gives?
But okay,
but
so
there's a few things because Patrick was alluding to I all right, first things first. I saw Room 237, the Normie documentary about The
yes,
Shining years ago. I think when like my wife and I had like first started dating, or maybe when we
yeah, it
bought
was a
our house.
Netflix. It was a Netflix in your face kind of movie.
Yeah. And you know, it's been a while since I watched it, but like I was watching it last week with like a fresh pair of eyes, trying to like pick out certain things. And you know, the first thing I sent you, Scott, was that picture from the game room
Right.
scene where the twins first show up, or the whatever, the girls first show up, and it's like a perfect symmetric shot
Yeah.
of like the girls between the poster and the
I do
poster.
think they're twins now, by the way, at least the way they appear.
Well, yeah, because there's this whole Gemini theory, and
That's the other thing. Yeah.
it adds to the whole fake of the moon landing thing because Gemini was the was Mercury, then Gemini.
Right. But also Gemini is one of the zodiac signs, and it
Mm.
has associations with something to do with alchemy and ritual sacrifice and shit like that. There being two
When
of them has something to do with sacrifice, I think, if I'm not mistaken. One gets killed, the other one's a scapegoat,
mm.
kind of
Well,
thing.
Cain and Abel, that goes all the way. Cain and
That's what
Abel
I'm
are
saying. Yeah.
twins, but
Yeah.
The
there's
fact,
the
sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Patrick was talking about the Minotaur themes, and
Yeah.
right behind them is that poster, and I'm like, that looks like the bull, like a bull.
Yes,
Looks
it
Something
like
definitely
something.
something
is.
horned because I was this close to my television staring at the freaking thing paused like
Same,
what
literally.
the hell is that shit? And it
Enhance, enhance.
and really I'll be honest, there appeared to be like profiles of natives like down low in the
Just
um
something, yeah. I really wish it was higher resolution.
yeah, but
But
I it does look like something
So
horned,
when I
and I
saw
will
that,
say
my
there's one
instant thought
thing.
was,
Go
yeah,
ahead, sorry.
I think you're gonna latch on to what I'm saying right now. Is I
Sure.
instantly thought, oh, there's a labyrinth in this that isn't in in the book. The book, it's topiary hedge animals.
Yeah, yeah,
In the
yeah.
movie, it is a hedge maze, and
Hmm.
you got a bull and you got a maze. What are we
Hmm.
doing here? This is the
Well,
story of King Minos
hey,
of Greek mythology.
call me Theseus, why don't you?
Yeah.
But not just that. The fact that he works until May 1st. It's May Day, right? And that
Oh, okay. Yeah.
and in May is the passing of Taurus to Gemini, if
Yes,
I'm
that's right.
correct.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
like and Jack is a scapegoat. He is there to do the work, the great work,
Yeah.
as they say in alchemy. And the work he's insistent on carrying out,
His
which,
great work,
yeah,
his book that he's supposedly
right.
writing, but he is now the author of his life, not the author of his book, and his story plays out in his real life.
Mm,
His
mm.
horror story that he's going to write.
Yeah, because there are a lot of moments where um it really does seem like he is writing the story carries on around him and other parts of the hotel around Danny and Wendy and even further with other characters, but those scenes will fade into him tapping away as if he's been the whole time, and then it stops, and even the same music from that previous scene is carrying over into the moment up until he gets interrupted by Wendy.
Right.
So like while Danny's first checking out 237 and seeing that it's locked, uh, it fades to him typing, and that music hits a beat, when she stops him.
Yeah.
And
And he also hides it from her, if you recall. It's like almost like
mm,
he's like, you can't see this.
yeah.
What was on the page, Jack?
Oh, we can imagine. I have an idea. So do we start at the beginning? What do we how do we
Well, let's.
tackle
I
this?
figured this is the best way to do it. Let's go through the various motifs that we will yet you find in it, because that's I feel like the
Mm.
best way
Lay out
to.
the legend.
Yeah, well, because so one of the major motifs that you will see throughout the film is the Native American Indian
Yes.
motif. This one is almost undeniable. We're not undeniable, but it's you can't miss it because they actually in dialogue bring it up to you.
Hmm.
Um, so they
Navajo and Apache motifs, he calls them.
Right. And so yeah, they put that into the like into the design motif. I mean, I'm speaking motif in like the like narrative sense, but you're right though. They also incorporated like Navajo designs into the design motif of the what do they call it? The Colorado room,
No,
which is
the
the
Colorado
room
Lounge, yeah.
Colorado Lounge, which is where Jack is working on his book.
Hmm.
Um and so it's the other thing is they mention very, very explicitly, and by the way, again, not in the book, so this is invented for the film. They mentioned that the building was built on a supposedly built on a Indian burial ground, and that they had to fight, they had to repel Indian attacks when they went to go build it in 1906.
Hmm. Um, Go ahead.
I
Sorry, you
think
go.
I was just going to say that I think that I don't need to explain to you if you're American, maybe our non-American listeners will not be familiar with this sort of trope in cinema slash TV, but in America there is this sort of horror trope, particularly in horror, but it's in other pieces of media as well, that built on an Indian burial ground is like shorthand for it's haunted, it's cursed,
Hmm.
and in extreme cases, it's almost like a eldritch, like sort of cosmic horror going on where
Yeah,
you are, you know?
It, it
I
it's
believe it. Boy, do
it
I.
I mean, it's funny you bring that up, and now like I kind of had flashbacks, like when used to go to Jew camp as a kid. It's
Hmm.
actually built on like an old
An
settler,
actual burial ground.
They're
an
Yeah,
trying
actual
yeah.
to
bar like
give you
in the middle of the
Holocaust
camp,
nightmares.
the middle of the campground.
Bro, you think that was a coincidence?
Oh, dude. What does Ullman
Where
say?
the
He literally,
elites go to play.
dude,
Like they
Ullman
overlook.
literally says it's supposed to be built on an Indian burial ground. Not supposedly. It's
Yeah.
supposed to be built. Like that's what we paid for. We better fucking
That's a
go.
good point. That is a very deliberate way of putting it. Supposedly would have evoke what I had said, but
Hmm.
Like
no, he said
creating
it's
lore,
supposed. Yeah, it's supposed to have been. Yeah, meaning that there
Brother.
was intent.
Yeah.
Very
Brother.
interesting wording there. Um,
I've never actually heard that one before, and I've watched a lot of Rob Ager in the
mhm.
last
Yeah.
week.
Oh
I've
yeah.
watched
Shouts
a
out
lot.
Rob Ager. He gets pissed if you don't cite him and you bring up stuff he said.
I
So
We're
mean,
all big fans of Mr. Ager.
I think that like, and you can't talk about this movie and the theories without bringing him up because he
yeah, he's
seems
the
to
OG.
like he's the foremost expert on A, The Shining, and B, it seems like Kubrick films in general, because you
Hmm.
guys have brought him up before in discussing other Kubrick
Yeah,
films.
and this is the
Hmm.
first guy. Actually, Rob Ager. I mean, I first saw his videos on The Shining like literally 16 years ago. Like literally, like I remember when they were new videos on YouTube, and my friends are like into Kubrick. I had older friends who are like into Kubrick, and they're like, "Dude, check this guy's videos out." And yeah, I watched all of them back then, and I had forgotten them for years. Or not forgotten them for years, but I remember when we went to go do the 2001 episode, I was like, "Oh, this guy. I remember this guy." Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, shouts out to Rob Ager. I draw a lot from him, honestly, and a little bit to Jay Dyer. I'm more of an Ager bro, honestly. Um, love Jay Dyer, love the Jay Dyer, but he does Gish Gallop a little bit, which if you're familiar with that term.
No.
Gish galloping is like when you like quickly list a bunch of like facts that may or may not have something to do with the connection you're trying to make, and then you just go like, well, look at all the litany of evidence, and it's like,
Mhm.
well,
Well, and
yeah,
it's funny. Jay actually cites Rob in the video he
of
does
course, yeah, yeah, yeah,
On the Shining. He's
yeah,
just like Rob's
he's ubiquitous,
everywhere.
yeah.
Yeah, and you know, I know we didn't want to talk about King anymore, but I got to bring this up real quick
Okay,
because
all right. If it's
because
Shining specific,
it is actually Shining
good, then
specific.
go for it.
So in the book, it's room 217, right? And
Right,
in
yes,
the movie, it's room 237. Now,
right,
in King has his own mythos. If you've ever read The Dark Tower, everything that he writes is connected to it. But he has his own numerology, and his numerology is based on 19 is the big number. There's one,
right.
3, 4, 5, 7, and 19 is like very, very big. So I kind of figured this out. I don't know if you guys could see it, but uh like
Two
room
plus
2
two
plus
plus 17.
17 is 19, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Now Kubrick, without even knowing any of this, changes it, and it's
Two
three
minus three times seven.
I
is
also
9.
heard it was 2 times 3 times 7.
All right, so that's Kubrick's magic number in this movie is 42,
Right.
which,
That's also definitely Kabbalah, I'm pretty sure. 42 is something to do with Kabbalah.
well, the normie take is that it has something to do with the Holocaust, and that he was doing like a movie about like The Shining's supposed to
Oh,
be
that
about the.
sucks. He wouldn't do that.
But
There was talk he wanted to do a
He's an
Holocaust movie.
artist.
speaking
No,
of,
I didn't know. I did not know that, but I'm not surprised to hear that the number 42 has something to do with the Holocaust in contemporary discourse because, yeah, the numbers, anything in Jewish lore going all the way back to Old Testament, every time you see a number, it has some connection to this like fucking crazy flow chart that they
40,
have. You know what I mean? Like,
42 is the 42 lettered name of God, uh, which is
is that the one that's supposed to, if you can
tetragrammaton.
pronounce it, you get superpowers or something? Shit. I remember that from Hebrew
Adam
school.
Kadmon. You become Adam Kadmon. Yeah, no, let's not go down that rabbit hole. Partially just because I'm not read up on it, honestly. So
No, yeah,
that's
But
why.
it's too much.
the relatively general consensus take is that the film does have the theme about genocide of the
Yes.
Native
Oh, I agree with
Americans,
that. Yeah,
and
that's
I'm on board with that too.
Hmm.
Like,
yeah. I agree with that. Definitely, definitely. And I think okay, so I think another key thing is in a meta sense, and I think Jared and I are on the same page about this. I think, and by the way, this is just I'm just playing around with the Kubrick palette here, by the way, because this is just like what he talks about in his movies. He always introduces like a class sort of criticism angle into his
Hmm.
films, and ergo, I think the entire film is, or I'm sorry, I should say, the hotel is a large scale metaphor for like the society, this capitalistic society that we inhabit. And I think he's making a direct allusion to say that the American capitalist society is built on the genocide grave of the American Indians. So we couldn't have had, I mean, maybe that's a matter of debate, obviously, in terms of logistics, but
Hmm.
it's part of sort of like libtard lore.
Maybe if
to,
they played along, am I
well,
right?
so there was this part in later in the movie, um, where Jack is looking outside, and this is what got me like on that whole thing
yeah.
was
Oh,
I
I'll pull
since
this
got
picture
this
up. Yeah.
I since got this picture of it's Jack's looking for Danny as Danny has ran out, right? And it's in the middle of a snowstorm, and he's standing in like the awning of the overlook, like the front entrance, and there's these little pieces of wood that are kind of jutting out of the awning. We'll wait to
Oh
yeah.
yeah,
So
good
you see
cash,
there,
Jared.
and I'm like, that looks like teeth. Like it's from the perspective of inside of a mouth,
Hmm.
and
Now
like
this is
Absolutely.
here in that is there in every shot, I assume, but you can only see it in two shots in the entire film. I counted because you sent me this before I rewatched it. They showed in two shots, and both of them are this exact shot. Like both times you're able to see those teeth, air quotes, are when it's this shot from the door outwards.
so
Hmm.
this this is before I started watching any of the Rob Ager stuff, but like um I just started thinking like, well, it's hungry. It's got to eat something.
Yeah.
And then I asked Scott, I'm like, how much of like a libtard is Stanley Kubrick? And he's like libtard. So I was like, okay, this is totally a critique on capitalism
It is,
and
yeah.
like because everything that they consume like are working class people.
Yeah.
Hmm.
The
Well, we don't
hotel
know.
could
That's the thing. It
Hmm.
is worth saying that we do know that working class guys get fed to this fucking thing yearly, essentially. Now we don't know what it also eats in the working part of the year,
that, that
but I
that's
assume
See,
it's not rich people it's eating. Is all I'm saying.
the capitalism critique also rolls with the Gold Room Federal Reserve,
Yeah.
uh, thing thread. So, but
Well,
Jared,
we'll
as
get
you
to
were,
that. I think we'll do
yeah,
that next after
yeah,
we
yeah,
finish
yeah.
up with the Indians capitalism thing. Um, yes, Jared.
No. So I was gonna say is that like as you were saying before, like this country was built on uh the genocide of the Native Americans, but there's also like a whole point where he goes, well, it was built on an Indian burial ground. I'm like, well, if you think about it, it's like that's no respect for the past. And it,
Yes.
you see all these cities like New York City is like really bad at preserving the past, and it's always about like building progress, newer, uh, and not respecting the past. And
Yeah,
then I was like, well, it was built in 1907, and you got to think that like this was the time where like unions were becoming more of a thing. And
sure.
he says, well, it
Well,
was
this was
built,
like runaway capitalism is 1907.
yeah, and like this is where the trust busters and all of that stuff
Mm-hmm.
starts happening. And then you think about like he goes, well, it was built because of its like native, its beauty and splendor and its seclusion. and
Seclusion.
and then
That's a
you got to
biggie.
think, okay, they had to get all of this shit, the raw materials, up a mountain in 1907. Like, think about all the backs and the labor it took
Yeah.
to construct this like hotel.
Good point. So it's
Um,
not only an Indian burial ground, it's a working class white fella burial ground too, because they all, I mean, like, it's a fact that there's corpses down where in the in the cement of the Brooklyn Bridge. It's just a fact. Like dozens of guys just went down there and just fucking croaked because of the pressure difference. Like down, they didn't know what the bends was and shit, so they were just like, just cement them into the fucking the foundations and shit. Just like the
Christ
fucking the
Christ told us the stones would cry out
yes, he did say that. Yeah.
like that. That's what he was talking about.
It might have
I'm sorry.
been, yeah.
No, but then like, you got to think of all the, like Scott saying, all this labor now. People had to have died or gotten maimed in the
Yeah.
process of building
Also,
this.
just imagine the toll because think about the way that work, particularly at the time, was. Nowadays, like they have like the pretense of being like, oh, we'll accommodate your needs or whatever. But then it was like abandon your family, go across the country, go work, and then drink yourself to death on the little money we give you. And then maybe you can send a little bit back to little Johnny and Susie if you're lucky.
So you're bringing that up, and I'm like, that's exactly what I was thinking about, like with Jack's alcoholism,
Yes.
because
I'm coming to
Jack,
that intentionally. It's almost like I intended it.
great minds think alike.
That's so
Now,
true.
I
Rich
have a thing
Voss.
about natives.
I would think about
That's
Rich Voss and his little fingers.
comic 6:30. We're coming up on 6:30, so
That's
uh,
true.
um, but to continue, like continue with like train of thought, I'm just like, well, okay, um, then uh, then Ullman starts talking about how like four presidents stayed here.
Yeah.
Uh,
Right.
this all the best people stayed like at the
That's the
Overlook.
quote. All the best
royalty.
people. Yeah. Royalty, all the best people. So yes,
By the way,
implicitly, yeah.
about Ullman, right? He's got that JFK thing going on. I'll come up with where I found heard this, but JFK. You know that photo of JFK Jr. as a kid playing under the desk, and he's sitting behind it. You've seen
Yes.
that photo? That there's two of those desks. They're called the Resolute desk, and there's that one in the Oval Office, and there's another one in Buckingham Palace.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Isn't it
Very
supposed to be like,
Rhodesian. Very Rhodesian.
I
yeah,
have a
so
lot more about the Anglo-American alliance. I have quite a bit on that. We'll get to that.
oh, and the
Um,
shine. Well, I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense given how much of an Anglophile Kubrick was.
Yeah.
I mean, he was
yeah.
like, I never want to leave England.
Yeah, I also want to hasten to be like, guess as a piece of trivia here, the only shots that are in America is ostensibly an American movie, but the only shots that are American are those helicopter shots of
Mhm.
the outside of the the canyons there, and then also some helicopter shots of the hotel itself. They were actually able to build a massive outdoor set in England, so Kubrick would not have to leave England. And there's a particular shot, I definitely sent both of you a screenshot of it, where they're driving on the road, and they're talking about the Donner Party for some fucking reason.
Yeah.
I wonder why. Talking about the
I
Donner
saw it
Party,
on
and
the TV.
yeah. But I couldn't help but go like, oh, this is definitely a rear projection shot. There's no
Yeah.
way that Kubrick got this close to the real outside
America.
in fucking Colorado. So if the fact that there's a canyon behind him means that this is B-roll they're showing behind him, they did this in a studio, and it looks amazing. I would have never guessed it. Only knowing that he didn't leave England is why I thought that why I even figured that out.
Well,
I
that's
can
because
think of.
he did that with
Sorry.
Eyes Wide. Sorry, he did that with Eyes Wide Shut, where he had to make, parts
New
of
York,
London
yeah.
Mm,
London look like New York, and like
That was all
there.
set. He didn't even make England look like it. He just built that
hmm
all in like a
Yeah.
little city inside of a fucking like a
Pinewood.
uh, literally. But they did it all inside of a soundstage.
And the scene where Alex and the Droogs are driving in Clockwork Orange, that's rear projection
Yeah.
too.
That one kind of
Um,
looks like it though.
yeah, it does. I think it's
Well,
kind of he lets it.
well, there
Yeah,
is a
that's true.
that scene in Eyes Wide Shut where Tom Cruise is walking. That's rear projection too.
Yeah, there's a lot in it actually, yeah.
Mm, shit.
Okay, but
Uh, on the topic of natives, I don't know if we're off of that
no, we're not
No,
yet.
entirely.
no, 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 no. Lay it on.
The tapestry in the Colorado Lounge is it's so we have the Pedge maze, of course, which has, all we'll get to that at a point. But when I, especially when Wendy and Danny are walking into the maze and they're having all that, they're passing trash cans with American flags on them, say keep America clean, and they're talking about loser has to help keep America clean, and that finally, if you zoom in, apparently that adds the context to that. But it pans across to the overhead map of the maze, which it looks like a sigil. It has
Yeah,
this,
it's some kind of mandala sort of thing
yes,
going on. Yeah.
perfect, thank you, yes. Now, mandalas are originally, to my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, but they were meant to be created, admired for whatever short time, and then let go with the wind. Um,
Something like that, yeah. It's a Proto-Indo-European thing, right?
and it's also a Native American thing because that
Well, yeah.
tapestry. So, talking about the Navajo motifs, Navajos took a lot of their mythology and artwork from the Hopi tribes, and those come from ancient Pabloan tribes,
Hmm.
that have been around for 1,000+ years. They the the figures in the tapestry are Hopi, and they're surrounding blue corn, and they're surrounded by a border that's supposed to represent the border uh between you know the
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 what do you
world,
call that? The
temporal world.
firmament. The
Yeah, there you
firmament.
go.
the
Perfect.
world,
It's
world.
firm and permanent.
Yeah. And so these originally, the only reason we even can see this is because of the genocide of the Native Americans, because these were originally made in sand, and they were meant to be much like mandalas of, Eastern Asia and, so
Hmm.
on. Uh, they
They're meant to
were
be a fleeting thing that you only get to experience while it's there. Yeah.
exactly, and it was only when um these tribes started to be put into reservations that they would create like censored versions of these sacred pieces that they could put onto blankets and so on and artwork and
Hmm.
sell to live. Um Now, it's just funny to think that what we have hanging in the lounge is this like another further affront to the genocide
Yes.
of Native Americans. And these
And how does Jack treat it, by the way?
whips a freaking rubber ball
He
at it.
repeatedly
A
throws
rubber
a
ball.
fucking tennis ball against it over and
Yeah.
over again. Yeah.
And there's
By the way,
also the
there's two female figures in it wearing blue dresses, folks.
mm, okay. Shit, sure. Fuck. All right. And the blue stalks of corn, okay. But that there's these are called yay pieces or and yay murals, and they typically will involve a an otherworldly teacher,
They like to get
something.
fucking gacked up.
Sure, yes, with the snus
On the
baby
peyote.
on the wacky tobacco and peyote. But the there's the idea of this like otherworldly influence in the high places, as you will, in
Right.
the air, if you will. Um, and then there's often a temporal teacher and a boy, a student, who's now it's sort of this further inversion on that, where Jack
Okay.
is killing his son.
Well,
Right.
wouldn't the temporal teacher then be Dick? Wouldn't it be
In the
Halloran?
in the positive intention of the original work, yeah, it would be. But
Well, Dick is a literal negative of his father. Get it? Because he's black and his father's white.
what? Wait, Dick's
No, like
father's white?
photo negative. He's a photo negative
Oh
of his
yes,
father. He's a father
But
figure to him. They're on
okay,
either side of each other, and they're photo
yes.
negative of each other.
actually to go into this like theme a little bit, like to dig in, like you see uh Halloran's super nice, he's friendly, he's warm, he you know, you want to go have ice cream with him. Jack is
Mm,
incredibly cold. Uh
Off-putting. No, he's off-putting to even adults.
mm.
he's just
Except at the interview, they loved him. He had
Yeah,
the
because
job
they're
before he
sick
got there.
bastards too. They fucking sacrifice kids at that hotel, Patrick.
What do you mean? What murder? He was the
So okay,
best guy around.
but by the way, just so you fucking know, I this is inescapable to me is that when they go, it's a secluded place for the uber wealthy and elite to go away and be secluded. What do you think they're doing, man? And then also the fact that there's like, young girls while working there, and then the owner of the place is on
Bye,
first name
girls.
fucking basis with the girls. Hey girls, and they
Bye,
know him.
girls.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, this is an Ace Rothstein situation. He provides these women to the VIPs in the place, and
Mm,
usually, just saying, that is accompanied by blackmail, just in the meta here we're speaking. But I'm
mm.
not going to go down that road. I'm just saying it's a reality for whenever rich people get together to do naughty stuff. There's an element of that at play.
Remember when Dick says, "Well, you know how sometimes things can leave a trace behind,
Yeah.
like burnt toast." Yeah, there's your blackmail right there. There's your trace behind.
Yeah.
Now and the fact that there's a tie-in to the Playboy Club with Kubrick, and there's a couple degree 2 degrees of separation, but
We
um
can't go too deep with it. I want to cover like the actual.
but
But go on, go on.
the idea that at these parties there's lascivious sexual
Women
deviancy
being
going on,
provided to VIPs. Yes.
Oh
but
yeah,
also
Bill
in the
Cosby was like really good friends with Hugh Hefner. And you could
yes.
always see like when Hugh Hefner would host those shows like the
Yeah, that was
TV
a
show,
blackmail operation.
Hmm.
he Bill Cosby would be in the background playing bass. Like
That's pretty funny.
Sick.
No, but also not for nothing.
He
Like
never played it before in his life. It was
the
just laying
Playboy
there and he
Mansion is
just picked
like
it
this
up.
cultural meme that had been fed to us as children through TV shows like The Simpsons, Married with Children, all kinds of shows that were have a like a dude bro father who's sick and tired of his bitch wife and is
Mm,
like gets an opportunity to go to the fucking
Playboy
to the
Mansion.
Playboy Mansion, and it's like that's implanting a cultural idea in your head that you go there and do something naughty or whatever.
mhm.
And that's whenever I'm sorry, Legal Man's Law. If it's on TV for more than an hour, it's bullshit, or there's
Mhm.
something bullshitty about it. Um,
Bullshittian.
but okay, so I think we got the Indian stuff squared away. I agree with you about that possible thing about the because the thing is, there's some I'd sell my soul for a beer.
Yeah.
He also is reading that we gotta address the fucking the elephant in the room here, which is the
Um, mhm.
which is the child molestation angle
Oh.
of the
Oh,
film.
I thought you were gonna say that Jack's hands are supposed to be like the behemoth, which
Oh,
is
Yeah.
the demon.
Baphomet. Yeah,
Yeah.
We'll get to the
yeah, you know what? Actually, before we get
picture,
into the
yeah.
child exploitation stuff, let's do the Federal Reserve stuff.
Because that's
Yes.
that once I watched Rob Eggers, like I sent those videos to Scott and
Yeah,
I'm like, we fucking got it. Like
yeah.
it this just
We
proves
got him.
Folks, we got him.
Yeah.
that we were right. Like, because Scott and I
Yeah.
were going back and forth about this. And I'm like, oh wow, like this just
Yeah. Well, to
confirms
be
it.
fair, I do want to say that I think it was Rob Ager who implanted this idea in my head, not for nothing. So it wasn't like we uncovered the mystery and then Rob Ager had done the homework previously. I think I'd seen that video years ago and was like, "Oh,
I'd
that's
never seen
I'm
it.
downloading that."
I'd
Oh
never
yeah,
Into
I
my
seen it,
downloaded
brain.
it
but when
too.
I saw it, my mind was blown. And like
Yeah.
the amount of research that he do, like
What a fucking G. So Rob Ager went to the Kubrick archives, and you can get access to quite a bit of material related to The Shining, particularly this one prop, which was not featured in the film, which was Jack's notebook, or
Oh
his
no,
scrapbook.
the scrapbook is out there. Like you see it on the table.
But it's not like there's no insert shot like there is in of the newspaper and fucking Eyes Wide Shut. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yes, but it is in the movie. You're right. It is in the movie, but it's not heavily featured. Whereas, as I understand it, in an earlier version of the screenplay, which you can read online for free, it like the last shot of the film comes out of the scrapbook, and it's actually heavily featured as like a way to introduce different ideas to the movie. Um, but anyway, so Rob Ager got his hands on this notebook and dug through it a little bit, and he discovered that there was extensive notes and like sort of process photos of all of the way that that last photo in the film of Jack doing the Baphomet pose, by the way, he's doing it. And he is in the 1921 Fourth of July party at the Gold Room. Um, Apparently that is based off, not just based off of it, but it's actually his face, Jack Nicholson's face has been superimposed onto a real photo of which we have pieces of. I think we actually have the real photo too, but we don't
Mhm.
know what the context of it is.
And I think one of the women on the crew said that it was probably from the BBC archives.
Yeah,
Um, and yeah, that
they have a lot of
apparently,
stuff.
yeah. There's a lot, and you'd have to be a journalist, credited, credentialed photojournalist, or
Yeah,
like
to be able
Kubrick.
to access that. So
Yeah,
Ager didn't.
yeah.
um, but in it though, I believe there was some notes of was there notes taken of Kubrick's that indicated that who certain people in the photo were, or was this all Rob Ager schizo posting?
Uh, um, I don't remember. It sounded like he was schizo posting,
He
but
definitely was schizo posting, but there's like some receipts on basically this is a photo of a bunch of people who are in the Woodrow Wilson cabinet.
well,
Um,
he also said that like I have it here, that every face in that picture is an archetype of the period, and that was
th-
like an exact quote from Kubrick.
right.
Like Kubrick said that like he had so in the schizo posting whatever, he's like his whole theory, or you say it, Scott. You go ahead. Sorry.
Basically, it hinges on the idea that these are all forms. And by the way, in 1921, where this photo's supposed to be, which in the movie, in the context of the film at least, would have been the year that these people left the Woodrow Wilson office, like left office from their
Hmm.
appointments as Woodrow Wilson's presidency. And of avid listeners of the History Homos, Woodrow Wilson not only oversaw the American entrance into World War One, but very notably oversaw the transition to the Federal Reserve System, as well as the gold confiscation. It's not called that, but the gold confiscation, the Gold Reserve Act, I believe it's called, where they seized all of your gold, all privately held gold in America was taken,
It's called
and
confiscation, Scott.
yeah, that's
It's
what it
fine
was.
now.
Right. Confiscation. Yeah. So
Very
they took all the
difficult now.
gold and they used it. It was, basically to create the Federal Reserve, which is a private bank. I don't need to tell you guys this. You know this. It's a
Yeah,
private bank with shareholders, and yet they just
yeah.
got all of America's gold. Cool,
That
good deal.
that picks
Um
and chooses how much your money is worth on a daily basis,
yeah.
and ergo
It's
your time.
non-arbitrarily, but
Yeah,
in a very intentional way in order to make themselves and their friends and relatives rich. Um,
that's a
but
coinky dink.
yeah.
All
But
right.
okay, so the reason I bring it up is because it's the gold room, which doesn't exist in the book. So it's
Uh-huh.
clearly intentional. And also, the very important line which was just screams at me, obviously, as a Federal Reserve noticer. But yeah, there's a scene in which Jack is sitting in the gold room in his fantasy, where it's like a very populated bar with lots of people drinking and having a party in it, and he goes to pay for his whiskey, air quotes. Um, and he hands over a Federal Reserve note. Obviously, the film takes place in the 1970s, and he hands over a greenback, piece of paper currency. And
Mm,
the bartender Lloyd says essentially, your money's no, not essentially, literally, he says your money's no good here.
yeah. First,
Uh,
he says his credit's good, though.
yes, he does say
Yeah.
your credit's spotless here. But here's the thing.
Temporarily light, Lloyd.
The thing is though is that even if you weren't going like, oh, he's making a whole, even if he wasn't like making a like uniquely like Federal Reserve comment here, it is a fact that this fantasy world probably exists before the Federal Reserve did necessarily, or certainly as much as the dollar had devalued to by 1970. So his money really would be not good there.
Mm,
Like even if it was just, even if he wasn't making commentary about the Federal Reserve, it like would be dog shit to those
yeah,
people. Like he'd be giving them a quarter or like a penny or something with
yeah.
whatever money he was giving them.
Jeez. Yeah, what's our money worth now? Um,
Don't Google that. There's a whole calculator website.
um,
Um,
No, but you are right though. Rob Ager says, all of the articles in the scrapbook
yes,
are
thank you. They're all
they're
related to the Federal Reserve.
yeah, World
mhm.
War One, World War Two, the Fed and gold reserves.
Yeah,
Mm.
and also notably, Kubrick was a gold bug. And he told everyone who had listened to buy gold, you should hold all of your cash in gold and you should put
Yeah,
it in an offshore Swiss bank account, which this
like
guy's
him.
not up to shit, by the way. He's not fucking getting paid by Mossad to do
Picture
something, by the way.
like his friend Sidney Pollock, by the way.
Sidney
Um,
Pollack was Mossad, right?
yes. Uh,
Was he really?
yes. Uh,
I didn't know that.
yeah, it takes some Googling, but there's some ways still. You can find some weird shit out there, apparently.
Wasn't it that Sidney Pollock went to? It was like him and like Charlton Heston, and they all went to like high school or something together. There's
I think
like
you're
some.
thinking of Steven Spielberg, George Lucas, and Roman Polanski. Or no, sorry, Francis Ford Coppola.
hmm, that makes sense. They were all pretty buddy.
No, because the you're thinking of the USC guys.
Yeah, I am.
I'm thinking of guys that like grew up in some. I think it was like even Ronald Reagan. They all went to the same high school in like Illinois or something like that.
Ronald Reagan went to school with a bunch of Jewish people.
I mean, Charlton Heston's Jewish.
Oh, well, you said Sidney Pollack though.
I mean, Sidney Pollock could have been the only Jew in the town.
Okay, fine.
The only
I
doctor.
thought you said
The only
Kubrick.
doctor or
I
lawyer.
thought you said Kubrick too. Sorry.
I
No,
remember
Kubrick's
now
from the
who I heard
Bronx.
it from. It was Arnon Milchan, everyone's favorite.
Yeah,
He's
arms smuggler.
well, now, yeah, well, and that ties into Kubrick in a sense because, yeah, but we'll get to that. But Pollock apparently, what's the thing? Right off the Googles here. Arnon Milchan said he could have he was aware of my of the nature of these activities, and he could have said no, but he said yes many times. Um,
Yeah, okay, yeah. So he did
Lee.
help out.
Oh
Okay,
no,
but
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It was Rock Hudson and Anne Margaret.
Oh, those
okay.
two. What were
He
they
went to
up
high
to?
school with them.
Keep those
Sidney
two
Pollock went
lovebirds
to
off of each other. Am I
Rock
right?
Hudson. Boy. Um,
Sorry.
so, b- but, but just to lay on into this whole like, this
The Fed thing.
dissolution, yeah, the Fed thing, just totally kicking the legs out from the table of,
Yeah, this is capitalism commentary again. He's saying that I think maybe I don't agree with his take here per se. But I would say that if you asked him, if you got him alone in a room, he'd probably say that it's not the natural process of capitalism for the bankers to just seize the actual source of money or whatever. But
Hmm.
I'm saying it's probably these specific guys doing it who they reason why they did it. But either way, I could that's a pretty common I think that's a common, like, broadly speaking, Marxist idea that, like, the privatization of everything is an inevitable consequence of capitalism or whatever. So I think that that's right in keeping with his typical themes to do a comment on the Federal Reserve here. um
There's also I got this from Truth Stream Media. They did a great little series on YouTube. Um, kind of half like travel log, also half like um, quietly schizo um, documentary about The Shining.
mhm.
Um, but they basically 1921 was this centennial of the Treaty of Ghent.
Interesting.
Right? So,
The Treaty
like,
of Ghent, if I'm not mistaken, is the
on
12
the
Years War. It's the one that the War of Spanish Succession. It's also the
no, the Treaty of Ghent was 1914. Oh God, right. It was so okay, I'm sorry. Now, there was supposed to be a centennial celebration of the Treaty of Ghent, 100 years since England and America, the Anglo-American friendship, as what's his face calls it. Um, th the There was supposed to be a statue of George Washington gifted to England and placed in Trafalgar Square. It got put off until 1921 because of World War One.
right. Okay.
But they accepted it, and there was talk from, say, what do you call it? The dissolubility of the English-speaking world, that from Lord Curzon himself, that England and America, the Anglo,
Curzon's a Milner guy, by the way.
yeah, that America and England are indissolubly one. Um, and it's it's just a it's just a funny thing that I enjoyed them bringing up because it leans in further to this idea that we are kind of just being
Yeah.
the furniture is being
Well,
sold out the
let me
back
put the
door.
fine point on the whole Federal Reserve thing. The Federal Reserve Act was written primarily by this guy Paul Warburg. Also, by the way,
Yes.
popularized by Daddy Warbucks. Thank you, Adam, for that detail. But yeah, Paul Warburg, he was married into the Rothschilds family on one side, and on the other side, he was married to the Schiff family, Jacob Schiff, not Peter
Mhm.
Schiff, of course. Um, but what's it called? So yeah, this guy, this is what. But I, to your point, Patrick, the Federal Reserve was very, very, very much the final nail in the coffin that fiscally linked the United States overall superstructure banking system to the Bank of London and the German banks, like the other German central banks and stuff. Not
Mhm.
German, just but France, all these fucking countries have a Rothschild central bank essentially. And
Spe-
when Federal Reserve got put into play, this was like the final piece of the puzzle.
So, there's something here we haven't actually talked about yet, and I don't think Rob Ager actually mentions it. And you guys can correct me if I'm wrong if he does. So the picture of Jack and the hypothetical ballroom scene is
Mm-hmm.
supposed to take place in 1921, right?
Yes.
Prohibition had already been in existence for at least a year.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
So again, this plays into the fact that these people can drink
Yeah.
and like drink freely and
Did you watch
openly
the Ken Burns Prohibition documentary by any chance?
very long time ago.
If I'm not mistaken, it's been a little while for me too, but if I'm not mistaken, everyone could drink a little bit for the most part. But it was like it became you had to jump through these ridiculous hoops. Like you had to get prescription from the doctor to get a bottle of whiskey or whatever. But my point is that you're right though, because the average schlub couldn't just get trashed every night, but rich people could.
Like you were allowed, it was legal to like make your own like if it was
Wine,
like
yes.
wine at home type of thing,
Hmm.
because uh a lot of the French and Italians and all of
Yeah,
that.
it was also just like unenforceable too.
Yes, but like, and then if you had existing, you didn't have to get rid of it. Like if you had
Yeah,
like
you
a
could put
whole
it in
full,
storage.
yeah,
They
more or
had like these
less.
big. There was like a bunch of like attempts at to fucking rob these depots that had all this alcohol in them. By the way, they never did it.
But this
Um,
this is something that I've never seen like them talk. Like no one talks about the fact that this is supposed to take place during Prohibition.
yeah, I didn't really think about it either, but
And
the
Jackson
Roaring
Alki.
Twenties, man, that was a time. That was a time to be. People drank. Wait, all those. Wait a minute. When did Prohibition start?
I'm on the wiki page right now. It says that it was passed in 1919, but it was
Okay,
the
yeah,
period from 1920 to 1933.
right. Okay,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So it was then. Yeah.
And
Um,
Jackson Alki.
he is an Elkie.
There's,
Okay,
I
so
wonder if
let's.
this demon entered his genealogical line
Yeah, Al
during that
Ghul.
time.
Did Al Ghul get into
Al
inhabit his
Ghul.
the spirit?
Is that the cat that is that the demon that cats invoke when they
No,
get
it's
the
actually oh, because they kind
across
of
the
sound
It's
like
house?
you're
Anthony
saying that.
Cumia.
Al Ghul, Al Ghul. No, no, it's like a Muslim or Arab, I should say, like demon spirit that is what inhabits you when you're a drunk asshole.
Mm,
It's Al
they're right.
Ghul.
Al Ghul.
Uh, okay.
You
Raj
guys
Al
never heard that
Ghul.
before? Really? That's a thing.
I know
Yeah,
that.
no.
I know that the Ghoul is a demon in
It's Guhl.
I'm trying not
yes.
to acquaint myself with the Islamic
Well, it's not Islamic. It's Arab. It's pre-Islamic.
oh damn. Yeah, no,
It's
I'm with you.
Zoroastrian, right?
Yeah, so even whatever, dude.
Yeah.
Pagan of some stripe. Yeah.
Ra's
Listen,
al Ghul, the head
I'm
of the
afraid of how
demons.
right they may be about some things.
Yeah. But anyway, what's it called? So again, I think we were sort of dancing around this earlier, but um, I think it's worth mentioning is that to go back to the sort of capitalism critique angle is alcohol is often early and often used by the working class to sort of like sponge yourself of the pain that it is to live under the system or whatever. So there's definitely a commentary going on about how this living, or even when you feel like you've, um, Jack is supposedly a recovering alcoholic. We know he's not, and we know there's no such thing as a recovering alcoholic. You're just fucking white knuckling it. But
And there's mismatches between whether he's not been drinking for or
well, I
for
want to talk about
Yeah.
5
that too.
months
The
or
time thing is really interesting. But I just want to say though is I think he's making a commentary that when you enter the hotel or the super societal superstructure, or you're forced to endure the societal superstructure, there's no resisting this urge. You
Mhm.
can't. You have to fucking indulge yourself with it because it's so overwhelmingly embittering to be a part of it or
Mhm.
whatever. Um,
You have to make yourself a little mad in a mad society.
exactly. Yes. Okay. I think we've covered the Federal Reserve stuff. I think we've covered the Indian stuff. I think we covered the capitalism stuff. Now let's get the elephant in the room here.
And this is just this is just these are just different glasses to wear while you watch the movie, you
Yeah,
know?
this is not all
The
encompassing. This is the thing. I do want to say this. We will not have cracked the case.
this no, yeah, this is just a map. This is not the territory.
Yeah, nice reference.
Not at all.
Well, it's an onion.
Oh.
There's multiple layers to this film.
Yeah, and it makes me cry because it's so beautiful.
I've
Yeah.
been with people who've been deeply upset by this film very quickly. It's
Yeah,
kind
I
of it's
bet.
yeah, like out of nowhere. Way before it gets creepy and weird. It's always weird and creepy, but
You know what? I want to say something. I think there's something interesting about Kubrick movies in general. Is they're presented to the general audience as kitsch, but they are avant-garde. And I think for a certain kind of audience member, that's really jarring to them. Like, you know what I mean? You go like a certain kind of audience member goes into, oh, it's a horror movie, and then they go in and it's this, and
mm,
it's like that really made an impression on me. Another movie that's sort of like this is or not like this, but it has the same effect is The Exorcist, where it's like, oh, it's a spooky movie about a girl being possessed, and then you walk into it and it's like an existential metaphysical drama and shit like that.
Yeah.
And it sticks in a lot of people's memories. I've talked to a lot of boomers who watch this movie like just being it's a spooky movie in the 80s, and then
Mhm.
they like traumatized by it because they weren't
Mhm.
expecting what this is. And a lot of his movies are like that because you go into it being like, you know, particularly let's talk about this, but this or like what's another one that's similar? Or 2001. It's a science fiction movie. Like, no, it isn't. Uh, so yeah, you go into it and you get something a lot different than what you expect. And I think that's a big reason why he has such a huge sort of memory impact on people. And that's obviously intentional in his parts because
Mhm.
you don't make movies so people sort of forget them.
Yeah, fair enough. No, and
I think it's also that like Kubrick doesn't have a genre of film.
Yeah, he
Like
decides which genre and then goes, "What movie am I gonna make?"
you were saying earlier, Lolita is a comedy.
Yeah.
Uh, you know,
Wait,
2001's
whoa,
like a
whoa, whoa,
sci.
whoa, whoa. That
no
sounds
wait.
that sounds crazy. Just like the way you said it like that. It was in context. In
Okay.
context, you were saying like, "What? He made Lolita." I'm like, "Yeah, but it's a comedy."
Okay. Yeah, yeah. But like
We'll get to the context of what that conversation. I'm not leaving it like that.
It would
It
be a
is a
comedy
comedy.
if James Mason sounded like Herbert from Family Guy.
No, no, the movie is a comedy because it's about this guy who's in love with a child and
Yeah,
acts like he's like
he's
in
a
super love
retard.
with. Yeah, he becomes
Yeah,
retarded over it. It's a funny, it's a subversion of a premise, is what I'm
it's
saying.
a subversion of a comedy in that and instead of ending it being funny and ending with a marriage, it's grim and ends with a murder, but still got some chuckles.
It's definitely plays for a
I
comedy.
watched it once and I was like, all right, well, that's over with.
Yeah, I had
But
that kind of experience with it too, honestly.
unfortunately, there's probably a lot in there that
Yeah, it's
um,
distasteful though. But okay,
yeah.
so speaking of distasteful, let's get this over with.
okay, let's
So
do this.
Oh, right,
okay,
yeah.
so Jared has made it clear to me that he does not buy the Danny is molested theory.
False
Now,
Yes.
memory.
let me ask you what your reasoning as to why that is, and I will agree and disagree where it is applicable.
Okay, so you know, my whole thing was I agree that Jack is physically and emotionally and verbally an abusive person. I
Yep.
just couldn't see him as being sexually abusing Danny. And it was more or less because he's very cold to both Wendy and Danny, especially Danny. Like you would think that if he was, like that, he'd be more like affectionate and he'd be more like into being around his son. He just doesn't ever want to be around either one of them. Like he sees his family as like an impediment to him like becoming the big celebrity that he thinks he should
The
be.
great work.
The great work, yeah. Like and you know the
I agree with your
I would
point that he
disagree
does
then.
seem to be disinterested in them.
Mhm.
However, I would say I don't have a lot of data points on this, but I don't necessarily think that guys who molest their children telegraph it to the outside world.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like they probably would be very secretive, and it might even be a strategy one would adopt in order to get away with it, say,
Mhm.
in by seeming aloof and not really involved with the child. I feel like
yeah,
again, no data points on this, and I'm just speculating.
but like you got to think that like they're not around people. Like it's a
But they're
big
in front of
hope.
a camera, and the filmmaker knows that. The filmmaker is showing you a performance and an intentional display.
And then like the whole scene where where they say the crux of the argument, part of the crux of the argument is that Danny is that scene where he goes to get the red fire truck
Hmm.
and Which we also haven't brought up the fact that they were watching that television
The Summer
show.
of 42.
Yes, and that there's no like wire, like it's not plugged into
Yeah,
anything.
Well,
yeah.
there
There's
was
no,
no cable at the time, I don't think. Was there? Oh, no, there
no,
was. There was. But there wouldn't have been there.
there's no
No, there
power
was no
cord.
power cord.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
I didn't notice
yeah,
that.
it's very
I was
weird.
also confused as to there's a raging storm outside and they got a crystal clear picture. That seems kind of odd.
Oh, fair, yeah. I
But there's
were
no
there
rabbit ears
tapes
either.
or anything like that at the time, or
Uh, VHS had just started
It
coming
would have been a
out.
fortune. They wouldn't have
Yeah.
had it. But
yeah,
also Betamax existed, but you don't see it there, so it's not
maybe
bad.
at the hotel. It's a
So
swanky hotel. If I may say one thing, uh, it's here's the pitch. It's the summer of '42. You've seen Lolita, right? Now
It's the gender swap version of it, yeah.
think backwards. It's gonna be great.
I will always not. Whenever I hear Summer of 42, all I can think of is the worst episode of the Good Simpsons seasons, which is the Summer of 4'2". Terrible episode. It's the episode in which Lisa becomes cool and Bart is lame. That sucks. Who wants to see that?
Or
Oh, it's a bit of a Uno reverse card, though, much like the traditional Lolita story being flipped on its head for Summer of 42. But also, there's 42 again.
fuck,
there you go.
crap,
But
shit.
2 times 3
What-
times 7.
when he
Two times,
goes
3 times 10.
when he goes to visit Jack in the like he goes to get the toy, like they say, oh yeah, well the way that he's like talking to him and all that stuff. And I'm like, it's like a guy who doesn't know how to relate to his kid. Like
Agree.
this is a guy who doesn't want to be around this thing. Like it's a burden. It's this thing that he has to care for out of some kind of moral obligation. But if in reality he would leave the two of them in a heartbeat if he didn't have some semblance of a conscience.
Conversely, I would say he has no conscience. He has no interest in being in these people because, except for the fact that he's going to chop them into little pieces and kill them.
Because he thinks they're the sacrifice and not him.
Well, it's supposed to
For the
be that
hotel.
that they're the sacrifice. Like, you
Yeah,
know,
that's what he's walked into this, going into this hotel to write this great work. And he thinks the end of this story is going to be he's going to fulfill the prophecy of the previous caretakers who chopped up the families, and he's going to be the next link in the chain. Doesn't turn out that way, of course, as it turns out. Um, but here's my problem. So okay, I agree with you that his actual body, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with the idea that the crux of the argument is the way that he acts in that scene. I do think that would be if there's going to be a scene in which he is abused, that would be it. But um I think the crux of the argument is the fact that he's reading a Playgirl magazine issue 10 years prior to the production, which has our top two articles are I the selling of David's soul, meaning David Soul from Starsky and Hutch, but it's clearly an allusion to selling your soul. And then directly underneath that is incest. Why parents sleep with their children. And this is a Kubrick film. No stone is random. Everything is
Yeah.
in the film for a reason.
Can
What's
I ask-
likelier? A
so-
recent issue of Playgirl lying around, or
No,
one
it was
from
yes,
yeah.
10 years ago. Yes, exactly. So, Jared, your rebuttal.
all right. So I actually
And
is
I have
there
other things too.
do they on these like schizo sites, do they have like a picture of the cover and who's on the cover?
In the Rob Ager video, he pauses. And it's a woman. Yeah, I know. Dude, do you
Oh.
think there was a gay magazine with guys on it that guys were buying in the newsstand in 1970 or whatever that came out? You bought it being like, yeah, I'll take that one with the girl on it. And then there's guys in it.
Oh, because they
Christ.
showed in one of the documentaries I watched, or one of the videos I watched, it was like it had Burt Reynolds on the cover. It had Sylvester Stallone on
Oh,
the
later
cover.
on, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
those are other.
But you're right. There was a woman on the cover of the magazine, but I believe that this is like a camouflage thing that gay men would be more Reddit. They'd be more willing to pick the magazine up on a newsstand if there wasn't somebody saying, like, it didn't say I'm gay magazine. Like, you know. But I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I was maybe someone can email me at historyhomos@gmail.com and correct me on that. But I'm pretty sure that's the lore with that. Again, I don't know shit about Playgirl magazine, so please don't at me with that bullshit. But I believe that's probably what the deal is.
Okay. Okay.
But again, it being a Kubrick film, he didn't just go, "Hey, pick a random Playgirl out of the pile," like, as if he's got a pile of Playgirls sitting around somewhere. By the way,
Wendy's reading Catcher in the Rye.
okay, thank you for bringing that up. I have a 10-minute, not maybe not 10 minutes, but I have a lengthy aside about Catcher in the Rye.
Kill the
So
phonies, Scott. Kill the phonies.
So first of all, obviously, schizo listeners of the show will know that Catcher in the Rye is a shorthand reference for MK Ultra assassinations, being that Mark David Chapman, killer of John Lennon, and
John
John
Wayne.
Hinckley also had a copy of it on him, and it's basically like a calling card for the CIA to be like, "Yeah, we did it," essentially. Um, that's not the angle. I know. I do think that is a reference that he is making because there's certainly a mind control. And we're going to get more into it in this section, by the way. But it's certainly there's a mind control angle on this, and I definitely think that's an illusion. However, I don't know if I'm unique in this. Patrick, you can probably correct me if I'm wrong. But even when I was 8, so I read the Red Catch in the Rye twice in my life. I'm sorry
But
to
Scott,
report.
I know you talk about Catcher in the Rye,
Yeah.
but doesn't
Catcher in the Guy.
didn't John Wayne Hinckley and Mark David Chapman after this movie came out?
Yeah, but it's existed already. I think there's earlier examples of the no. First of all, yeah, I guess both of those two specific ones were, but I do think that there's a trope of that being
A
Catcher in the
thing?
Rye.
Got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
prior to that, I
Oh
don't
yeah.
know. I don't want to speak too long on that, but I'll say
In the
this.
in the film Conspiracy Theory, he has like a bunch of copies. He buys every copy
Of
he
Yeah,
Catcher in the
finds.
Rye.
Yeah.
but
God
here's
bless
my
Mel.
thing with Catcher in the Rye. I assume you guys have both read it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, in high school. I read it in 8th grade for fun because I knew it was like a book that people read. I also was a nerd. I would just read books. Um, and then in 10th grade, I believe they had us assigned to read it. And the first time I read it, I was like, it's fine. I kind of liked it for some reason. And then the second time I read it, I did not like it, partially because it was assigned to me, but I looked at it more critically. And my takeaway in 2005, a young me, was that I believe that the main character, Holden Caulfield, has been molested.
Hmm.
And that the story that is being told in Catcher in the Rye is the sort of foibles of someone who has been molested and is coping with the fact that he's been molested. So for those who haven't read the book, I'm sure most of you have, especially if you're American. But the book it's written by a Jewish fella named J.D. Salinger who has a bad relationship with his father, if I'm not mistaken. Um, and the story is about this character named Holden Caulfield, who is a rich kid who has been kicked out of 8 or more different private schools and has just been kicked out of his 9th final one. I don't remember the numbers. It doesn't matter. The point was this was his last chance to not have to go to public school or
Hmm.
something. And he's 15 or 16 years old, probably think 15 years old, and he just can't get his shit together, even though he's a wealthy field hockey playing prep school kid. Um, Now, another thing is that the course of the book, he goes to the city, which at the time, I wrote this down, by the way, as a youngster, is that I felt that that's like where a little kid thinks of adults going to.
Hmm.
He goes to a seedy hotel and picks up a prostitute because he thinks that's what adults go and do. And then when he gets there, he realizes he's a sad little baby who wants to be held and talk about his feelings to this person because he's ultimately a child. And he pussies out and doesn't have sex with the woman, and he ends up getting in trouble with the prostitutes, pimp, and all this stuff, and this very boring twists and turns that happen. But the other thing is the title of the book is this sort of, I don't want to reuse the word motif here, but I guess that's probably the appropriate term. But either way, so there's this notion in the book where he's talking about this song that I'm not sure if it's real or not, but there's the chorus of the song is a body catch a body going through the rye. And he goes, I don't know what it's really about, but what I always thought about it was it's a bunch of little kids running around on the edge of a wheat field, and there's a safe adult who wants to protect them on the edge of the wheat field that stops them from going into the wheat field where they might get hurt or lost or something bad happen to them. And when I read this, I'm like, oh, this dude has a bad relationship with adults, and in his fantasies, he thinks about a nice adult. What kind of fucking fucked up kid is this that he's fantasizing about a nice adult protecting children? That's not what 15-year-old me was fantasizing about, I'll tell you that much.
Oh yeah. No.
So
That's
anyway, I don't know
certainly.
if I'm unique in this take, but I've always thought that and by the way, just looking at his early life and I don't mean like his early life on Wikipedia, but I mean like his early life with his family relationships and stuff. He's a recluse. And the author, I mean,
Mhm.
and
Army too, by the way.
something's going on there. But my point being is that I'm pretty sure that this book is a large scale analogy for the coping mechanisms that a man now become a boy becoming a man who has this severe mental trauma instilled upon him that he didn't ask for. And I think that's what the book is about. And I think by Wendy reading Catcher in the Rye in that early scene in the film, it is the filmmaker sort of telling us that Wendy has an interest in sort of understanding her husband better. Um, Perhaps that's my
Mm-hmm.
read on it. Also worth mentioning that there's a bunch of witchcraft books on the
Mm-hmm.
shelves in the scene
Mm-hmm.
too. By the way, the Magic Circle, which makes a big appearance in Eyes Wide Shut as well, the book. Um, but yeah, so there's some stuff going there. By the way, I also want to point out that the in the scene, so this is speaking more to the molestation angle, but there's the scene where the doctor is questioning Danny about Tony, the nature of Tony. And I do want to point out that I think I'll pull it up, but I'll keep talking while I'm doing it. Uh, I'm going the wrong way. Uh, I believe that there's an icon of some kind that looks to me like the demiurge.
Yeah. Right.
Did
I
you
know
see?
what
I
you
sent
mean.
that to you, Patrick. Let me just see if
Yes,
I
you
can
did.
pull it up here.
And I know what you mean. It's above that is like some dog, some dual colored dog. There's some
Here we go.
different things that
So it looks
appear and
like Egyptian
reappear.
hieroglyphics to
Just weird.
me,
Oh
but
yeah,
that
that definitely does.
Looks
and
like a
this guy
cat.
looks like the sun-faced serpent here. Kind of looks
Yeah.
like a the lion-faced serpent here. This could be the demiurge. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here, folks.
Mm.
But
Well, no,
also,
there it looks like a cat. It's got a tail, right?
yeah, but it's also serpent-like, you know?
Yeah, but there's the sun there.
Yeah, I don't know what he's doing. Again,
That
this is
looks like a
not.
dog. All right, so the red and blue one looks like a dog's head, which is Anubis, the god of death.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And I can't tell what the bottom thing is, but it looks like a big, either a pig
Purple, something purple.
or it could be uh, a hippo, which
Some
is another
jackass wrote
Egyptian.
all over the
Yeah.
screen.
But anyway, this scene is pretty fucking telling. Clearly Danny's Tony character is a DID manifestation. Obviously, created a secondary character, a secondary personality for himself that he would retreat to in traumatic periods. Specifically, he says, jumping forward a little bit, when he's talking to Scatman Crothers about what Tony shows him, he says, "It's like I go to sleep and he shows me some things, but afterwards I forget what it was." That is
Mm-hmm.
DID like symptoms,
Mm-hmm.
like it literally fucking is. And the fact that, and this, by the way, not details from the book, these are details just from the movie. In the scene where he's talking to the doctor says to him, "Is Tony?" So Tony, for those who don't remember the movie, you gotta watch the movie before you listen to this
Hello,
fucking
Mrs.
episode.
Torrance.
Yeah. Tony's his imaginary friend, supposedly. And he says to the doctor, Tony's a little boy who lives in my mouth. And that is not a detail from the book.
He
And then
hides
also
in
that,
my stomach.
Yeah, I was gonna say that next. So, and then she says, if you were to open your mouth right now, would I be able to see Tony? And he says, no, he would go down and hide in my stomach. So this like this sort of first of all, it's oral. It's an oral issue. It's now been identified as an oral issue. Also worth mentioning, I didn't
The
screenshot this
idea
or
of
nothing.
hiding him in his stomach, like, yeah,
Yeah. It's
I
like,
don't.
yeah, it's or maybe that's he's talking about him. Danny goes and hides when something bad is happening, perhaps. Yeah, so the other thing is there's the bear motif now that we're
The
gonna
bear.
discuss. The bear so at this is one of the first appearances of a bear in the film during this scene where
Yes.
he's describing yes, that's the most important one. That's where it
Yeah.
ties it all together. But the
Yeah.
bear the bear he's laying his head on a little bear, like a stuffed bear in this scene where he's talking about Tony and going hiding in his stomach and stuff.
Hmm.
And the next time we see a bear prominently is during the scene in which Jack is waking up from his nightmare in which he slew his family, where he spits up when Wendy shakes him, by the way, spits oral again, spits up when she wakes him awake. And also, but prior to that, she jumps over a giant stuffed bear. This is the only time they show this bear, by the way, that stuffed bear rug. Even though they show that fucking room 100 times, it's the only time you can actually clap eyes on that bear on the floor. And then of course the bear at the end, where Wendy is running through the hotel in order to save Danny, hopefully, and she walks up the stairs and sees a man in a bear costume, sort of imply to be having given fellatio to a man in a suit, and they both like sort of look directly at her. But interestingly, and by the way, this shot, I mean, I'll pull this back up right here. But if you can see right here, this is the shot. This is a very similar shot to
Oh,
the shot where the where Danny's brushing his teeth
yeah.
and he falls asleep. By the way, brushing his teeth, oral again. I'm not saying anything about more, but it's in the mouth. Um, and so he's brushing his teeth and then he passes out, which leads to this doctor visit, right?
Hmm.
Um, so but the thing is there's a massive visual symmetry from that shot to several shots, by the way. The one in which Jared was just referring to, where Danny is sitting on Jack's lap and it seems like he's about to abuse him in some capacity. The shot is very, very similar to that. And also the shot is also identically framed to the bear scene where the
Hmm.
that door is just like that, where you can see sort of something to the right and not quite. It's cut off
Hmm.
though. So there's definitely ties between these three scenes, and for me, it's dead ringer, and it's particularly in light of the incest article.
Hmm. Hmm. And then there's the dog and the or bear, whatever it is, and the man in that room. It's an allusion to Jared. You've read the book.
I read the book
It's
too.
and
I
okay,
actually
yeah,
I listened to like a good part of the audiobook and then the discs started skipping. So it's like back on the queue to actually finish it.
fair
I mean,
enough.
I read it 20 years ago, but I remember the dog thing. So there's a one of the interesting things um that King does in the book is that he sort of shows that this sort of the way that he deals with this like supernatural causing people to go crazy thing is the way it's basically you go into the hotel and like the thing that undoes you for jackets is alcoholism, but whatever the thing it is, it fucks you, like the ghosts get into you that way essentially. But there's a scene in which the I don't know if it's the owner of the hotel or like the caretaker, like Jack, is at a like hotel party, a Halloween party or whatever, and he has like a gay sex tryst with a guy dressed as a dog. So, but I assume that the reality is that Kubrick was just like, oh, cool, there's a scene in that. I'll just use that for my own purposes. I'll repurpose that for my own use. that I want, a story I want to tell. But to
There,
me, it's a dead ringer for all three of those scenes being tied together. Um, Also, again, this is a Rob Ager point, but there's a mysterious costume change between the time that that scene where he's sitting on the bed with him, and it's very creepy. And then the next time we see him, he's dressed in the Apollo outfit. Rob Ager goes so far as to say that it's not a moon landing reference; it's a phallic symbol pointing at Danny's mouth. Yeah. I don't. I think I hate to say it. I think he's right about that. I don't think he's saying I did the moon landing.
yeah, right, yeah. We won't
We don't
delve
have to
further,
belabor the point.
but um, that's that is quite a story, to quote Jack. Interesting how further back to how he's writing this, murder of his family. When after Ullman finishes telling him about Charles Grady, right?
Hmm.
That's all
Charles
Jack.
Grady, not
Yeah,
Delbert Grady. Charles Grady. Yeah.
yeah, of the Poughkeepsie Gradys. He's all what he says is that is quite a story, as if
Yeah.
like I can write a better story than that.
Oh yeah, good
Yeah,
point. Yeah. I didn't think of that. But yeah, so
no.
Charles Grady being the previous caretaker who slew his family with an axe and then put both barrels of a shotgun in his mouth, blew himself away.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, and
Well,
then
I told Scott my take on the fact that I think that his name is like Charles Delbert Grady,
it could
or
be that. Yeah,
like, and that uh, there are plenty of people who go by their middle name.
definitely.
Like my father-in-law went by his middle name. Like everyone
Hmm.
called him by his middle name. So it's like, is it possible that there's the whole two Grady theory where it's like a lot of reincarnation and stuff like that, where like maybe Jack was reincarnated there was another Torrance or something, and that was the
Yeah.
picture of Jack in 1921. And then there was a Delbert Grady, and then there was a Charles Grady, and then there was a Jack Torrance. Um,
Right. There's
I
also
don't
there's a
go ahead.
disconnect between the what Ullman describes as a girls 8 and 10, I think,
Oh
and the
yeah,
Yeah,
Scott
girl,
and I
and then
totally
there's
got into this
yeah,
earlier.
yeah.
and the girls being twins. Yeah. So
I
I
look
think
at
I
that.
settled on that. I think we settled on that is that the hotel sort of chews people up and spits them out as sort of Jungian archetypes. And that is or maybe not Jungian specifically, but I mean
No,
that's
it has to be Jungian because it's got
because the
Carl
red
Jung's
book
Red
is on the
Book.
table in fucking in the office, right? Exactly.
apparently it's not the Red Book. I've seen some people who went with the theory. I think it was Ager who detracted that, said it was something else, but it's the Red
I
Book.
mean, it says the red book. What other fucking
Yeah.
red book? Mao's red book? I screenshotted it.
Does it say the Red Book?
It says the red book on it.
Yeah, it does.
As opposed to the toy box in Eyes Wide Shut that says the magic circle. Yeah,
Yeah. No,
and that's also
I saw it with my own eyes. I didn't hear this from a video. I
interesting.
paused the movie and said, "Wait," to my wife. I got to take a look at that. Oh
Wait,
my
wait, wait.
god, it's the red book.
No shit.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Sorry, Rob. I saw it with my own two fuck. Maybe you got the Mandela effect version of the movie.
The mandala
The
effect.
Mandala effect version of the movie. Yeah.
Um, the when after the blackout, the therapist says, "Now this just rang in my head like the ID." She said, "Hold your eyes still so I can see," which makes sense,
Yeah.
on a surface sense of, hold your eyes still so I can see them. But it's almost, you could also think of it as Tony saying it, or, whatever,
Mm.
entity is within one who is, shackled with this problem.
Right.
Um,
Okay. Yeah, I didn't think of that
it
either,
just
but
felt
yeah.
like, yeah, there was something about that, and, does Tony ever ask you to do things? That's when he shut it down.
Yeah. Oh,
I
yeah.
plead the fifth.
He says, yeah, she says, does Tony ever ask you to do things?
We're
And
done
he
here.
says, I don't want to talk about Tony anymore.
We're
So,
done here.
dude, like, it's textbook fucking molestation, the safe place going to. Um, but okay, so we got to talk about, I think we covered that a little bit. Oh, I want to say this is that, I'm not certain that room 237 is a physical place. It could be something that plays out on the film screen,
Hmm.
and because we know that, or we don't know, but the timeline as it's presented it to us is the scene in which I believe Danny to have been. Oh, this is important too. We'll get to that one second. Danny's bedroom has a painting of bears in it. One
Hmm.
bear standing, one bear sitting down.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
then there's another scene where in which after Danny's been now injured in his throat, and there's some sort he's sucking his thumb, by the way, oral fixation. Um, she's a sort of accusing Jack of having something to have done with it, and he denies it vociferously. And by the way they dialogue this out, it's like very much clearly alluding to the idea that it's not necessarily a physical grab, hurt, hit energy sort of incident. It may have been something more. But in the rear of that scene, there's another painting where the figures are in exactly the same positions as the bears in Danny's bedroom, and but except they're naked children, like in the classical style, like not like a
Like
pornographic
chirrups.
photo. Yeah, like exactly like cherubs, but they're sitting in exactly the same photos as bears.
Hey, nice place you got here. What are those cherubs?
Yeah,
Very nice.
very
So
classy.
Very
so,
classy.
so like I know we're not supposed to bring up King, but like
You
the
could bring up
idea.
King just with this movie, though. It has to be related
What's
to The
wrong with Martin
Shining.
Luther
It can't be
Okay,
King?
about
so
the
like
yeah.
no. So but in King, like going back to like the idea of 19 is
Hmm.
that the room is what like in the Dark Tower stuff is the thinny. It's
Yeah.
that kind of
It's the thin place between worlds. Yes.
yes.
Hmm.
So I mean that was what King was probably going for when he wrote the
Agree.
book.
Yes.
So I mean obviously Kubrick didn't understand that
Or
part
didn't care.
or didn't care.
Yeah.
But he knew that there had to be a room where
Right.
all the bad mojo was
Yes.
concentrated in.
He utilized that plot thing
Yes.
feature. Um
There's something about mirrors here where deer
I'll
had
come
a
to that right next. I
perfect,
have to,
yeah.
I got a through line going here.
Also talk about what why does Tony, this disassociated identity also come with psychic powers?
Well,
Yes.
What are we talking about?
I don't think
Go
it's the
ahead.
dissociation of psychic
I
powers.
think but the thing you're right in the book. The book is Tony is a ghost that talks to Danny because Danny has the ability to hear ghosts talking. In the movie, they arrived around the same time, these two concepts. Or there's at least there's no evidence as to otherwise.
Well, I mean, Halloran says that, his grandmother could shine
Yep.
and that they'd have conversations in their head.
Mm.
And it's then logically you can use logic that maybe Jack has the shine and that's what his alcoholism is dulling,
That's its interpretation. I'm not averse to that interpretation.
that his alcoholism is in essence is dulling his ability to see the
Dick
ghosts.
Halloran does not say that he was born with the shine.
Mm.
But it's inferred that it was inherited, it was hereditary because his grandmother had it.
It's not you inferred that.
I mean, so did
You
Rob
inferred
Ager.
that. I'm
Au-
sure you're right. I'm sure you're right. He did, but I'm
I
just
will
saying
often say that what people call hereditary is often just there's other things that
environmental.
I
yeah,
mean, you could
other
what
things are passed through
the first
generations.
time I saw my child in the first sonogram I saw that mouth. I said, "Yep, that's my kid."
Yeah, but that's physical
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
We're obviously psychic powers you can't see in a sonograms, to my knowledge. We'll get there eventually,
Not in
folks.
my neighborhood.
But either way, I don't know.
Keep
I
your
don't know.
psychic sonograms out of
I'm
my
agnostic
neighborhood.
about that. I'm agnostic about that concept. But
Because that's the other thing, going back to your point with the mirrors, is that he
yeah,
might be seeing the ghosts
through the
or
mirrors,
something
I see what you're
through
saying
the
because
mirrors.
that's a trope, by the way, is being able to see the dead through the mirror.
Hmm.
So it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility that he would utilize that trope. Of course, of course.
When he's walking to the fish and goose soiree, right?
Yes.
Every time he passes in front of a
He
mirror in that
flips out so he
hallway.
can't look at them. Yes.
Yeah.
So
And
he's averse to the mirrors in general.
Danny's episode happens while he's brushing his teeth in front of the mirror.
Yeah.
And I should also mention this back to something inside looking out from within them. Um, and mirrors, red rum, reversed murder, as it would be in a, like
In
you
the
would
mirror.
see it in a
Yeah.
mirror, yeah. Um, uh, Tony was on the outside. Tony was the what do you call it? The
Tony's the mirror
act.
person.
Well, but at the
Tony's trying
time,
to get the idea out, but can only do it
no.
backwards. So that
At
means
the
he himself is backwards.
Well, but at the time, Tony was the active alter
Oh,
personality.
yes.
She can't
Oh, so
shift.
that was Danny on the inside trying to say
Yes,
murder.
yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Good point. Great point, actually.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I have to say this. So I don't know if 237 is a physical place. First of all, like many areas in this film, it's non-Euclidean. It doesn't work. So I have to just point to Rob Ager on this. It's visual. It's very visual. I'm not going to be able to get the ideas across in me talking about it. But let me just say this. Also, I think the way that he figured this out is awesome because somebody built a model of the hotel in Duke Nukem, and they realized that by doing so, there are plenty of places that could not exist, such as all of the rooms that are to the left and right of 237. They would be a wall. There'd be a wall, a thin wall, by the way, that would go into the next room, meaning also that 237 itself would be in an open air area. There would not be a room there. So this sort of lends credence to my idea that is not a physical place that they actually went. But okay,
The
so
powers of the air, as they say in the big
yes,
book.
the what's it called? So the timeline as we understand, as we're shown it, again, we'll talk a little more about timelines later, but the uh the timelines we're shown is there's that creepy scene where he's clearly about to molest Danny, and then the next shot is Danny is riding the tricycle around the hotel, and he decides that the door to 237 is now open, and he is scared there. The next scene that we see is Wendy in the basement dealing with the furnace or something, and there's pornographic images on the wall. And there's also a fucking poster, a choking hazard, like a one of those like sort of like if you're choking, do this posters, but it says choking, and there's a fucking cartoon bear on it. But also, she then hears a ruckus going on, and she goes into the Colorado lounge to find Jack falling over himself, drunk, air quotes, because he had just spent
Sleeping.
time in the 20. He was actually just sleeping,
I'm
but
just
she wakes him up.
sleeping.
He's having a freaky nightmare. He falls on the floor and spits up, and then he himself. So he's flipping out about this accusation. Oh yeah, sorry. Danny walks out. He's sucking his thumb, and he's nonverbal. And Cher instant reaction is that oh, Jack did this, obviously
He's
accuses
got
him of it.
marks on his neck. His shirt's ripped.
Right. Yes. So clearly
Yeah.
there's been a struggle. He definitely did not do this to himself. A kid couldn't really
That's
put
what
a
Jack
man-sized handprint on his throat. And
He did it to himself.
yeah, so this is one of my favorite lines in the whole movie, low key. So he's flipping out. Patrick just mentioned the scene where he won't let himself look in the mirror.
Auto hypnosis is mentioned by the therapist too, by the way.
Yes, that's right.
Right.
But what's it called? So then he goes into the gold room, which is now the scene. It is now the scene where is this the first? This is the first scene where he talks to Lloyd. Never mind. It's not the scene where he talks to Grady. Okay, so but he sits down at the bar, talks to the Lloyd, gets the free air quotes drink from the guy, and then Wendy comes in, and she goes, Jack, Danny's got attacked by a strange woman. There's a woman in the hotel. She grabbed him and hurt him and blah, blah, blah. And he goes, are you fucking nuts? And
Are
I
you
couldn't
out
help
of
but
your
laugh.
fucking
I couldn't.
mind?
Out of your fucking mind.
It's
That's what it
so
was.
funny.
It's
It's
so funny
so
because like
funny.
bro was just talking to a ghost bartender. Like
His face in that scene is so
he's
good.
so
It's
done with her. By
he
the
just looks
way.
like he's just got like his his brow down and his lip jutting out. He's like, are you out of your fucking mind?
Also, subliminally at least, he knows he did that. Like, you know?
Subliminally, who knows? That I don't know. To say this, like at whatever point the abuse started,
Sure.
I don't know. I mean, it would appear to be before this. You know, if we're going with the
Something. I don't know. That's the thing. It's a mosaic, they say.
Jared, just make a face. I want to know if you
No,
took
it's
any
just that
issue.
like there's this again, there's this whole thing with time where
Mm.
he says, it's 5 months, 6 months without a drink,
Mhm.
and then
Right.
there's
He says
there's a
years at some
whole
point.
Well, okay, so she says so at the hotel, so before they go to the hotel,
At the
Wendy
apartment.
says to the doctor he
Mhm.
hasn't had a drink in 5 months. She also says we have been in Boulder for 3 months.
Mhm.
Smash cut to, well, first of all, this is a big problem, is the fact that they close on Halloween, which is a satanic holiday. Um, they close on Halloween and they're supposed to stay open. They're supposed to stay closed until May. That's 7 months. So, and by the way,
Yeah.
they keep referring to this as a 5 month stay that they're going to be doing there. So this is a problem. And then the other thing is, while he's bitching to the ghost bartender, he says about the incident which caused him supposedly 5 months ago to stop drinking, according to Wendy. He says it was 3 fucking years ago.
Yeah. It's almost like he's confusing which excuse he uses for which incident or what have you.
Mm.
They had to in order to survive. That was another thing he said way out of
Out
pocket
of the out
about
of
the
the
Donner Party.
fucking blue, just randomly talks about people eating each other.
They had to. Um,
It's
uh,
okay. He saw it on the TV. But I mean, obviously, that's a commentary about the fact that movies like this prime you to be a sacrificial animal.
and the news too, when he's in the kitchen listening to a news report about a woman going missing on a hunting trip with her husband.
You're clearly murdered. By the way, you don't go missing on a hunting trip with your fucking husband,
yeah,
bro.
just ask Dick Cheney.
Yeah. Well, that guy, they found him.
Dick didn't. Dick thought he got away. Dick, oh,
He did get away with it. The
yeah,
guy,
He
even the guy
literally did get away
apologized
with
to
it.
him.
Yeah. The guy apologized to him, if I'm not mistaken.
he
Yeah.
killed 16 Czechoslovakians. Guy's an
Um,
interior decorator.
um,
The the whole uh and Danny's first tap out coincides with the interview too, which I don't know how much you guys have to say about the interview, but it Holman's hands
Well,
pissed me off the whole time. He's like this. He's got his hands down
is
in
he
this
doing the
manner.
Mason thing?
No, not it might
Oh yeah,
have
no, he's
in
doing
moments.
more of like a Mr. Burns thing. Yeah.
Yes, yes,
like,
which is hilarious. But his hands are just down like this in this totally unnatural way.
well, isn't that the other thing too about The Office? Is that The Office shouldn't
It's
exist?
non-Euclidean. Yes, thank you for bringing that up. I
The
actually let it
window.
slip. So, as you
Is
recall, this
that
is a
AI?
fucking tracking steady cam shot. You follow these motherfuckers in that room, and in that shot, you can see that behind that office is a stairwell.
Mm.
There's no way that there's,
Mhm,
but you walk in there is a very convincing lit window that
mhm.
cannot exist.
Yeah, none of that should be there.
Now,
So,
this is a part of a larger thing, which is Kubrick was masterful in able to see. Here's the thing: most of the time, when a filmmaker makes a movie and he puts one shot where the lights on and one shot where the lights off, you go, "Wow, this movie's a piece of shit." They weren't even able to keep the continuity correct for the lighting. That's pathetic.
Yeah.
Kubrick's on another fucking level. Kubrick just knows what he's doing, and he did in each shot, dude. It's crazy. So speaking specifically of the Grady shot, the Grady in the bathroom scene where he's talking to Grady, the ghost Grady in the bathroom, they each shot they switch sides of the fucking bathroom, man. You can't even tell. They're literally on opposite sides of the bathroom, every alternating shot, and this shot just so that you just barely don't notice. And to quote Red Letter Media, and I do every time we talk about a movie, but
Yeah, I know
you
what you
didn't
got.
notice. You didn't notice it, but your
Your
brain.
brain, dude.
Mhm. The shower curtain in Danny's bathroom looks exactly like the woman's dress that Grady bumps into when he spills the avocado
I did not
on.
notice that.
I didn't
It's
notice that
pretty
either.
striking. The and
A lot of
when
bathrooms badness going on, I think, too. By the way,
Mhm.
as
Yeah.
it probably. Ugh, I don't want to go down that road.
Mm,
It's a place where you're naked. I'll just say that in a
true,
domestic situation.
true, usually.
Um,
What is it's just like pictures in a book. It isn't real. That's what Tony tells him. Go.
no, that's what Dick Halloran says to him.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. You're right. But plays into the whole. Jack is writing this.
Oh, it's just
What?
pictures in a book, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. It isn't
Um,
real. It can't hurt you. Well, it didn't end up hurting him in the long run, did it? Neither. Interestingly, Wendy and Danny both are literally unscathed the entire film, even though he jumps out
hmm,
of a fucking window. Oh, that's
yeah.
another thing. That
This.
window, you'll recall the way the layout of the bedroom there is. You can see there's three sides of it that have windows on it. There's Danny's room with a window. There's the room where they have the TV, and then there's the bathroom with a window, indicating as such that it's necessarily a corner in order for that to be possible. But then we
Mhm.
see in that bathroom shot, it's clearly the front, the side, the middle of the side of the building because we get that famous scene where he slides out the icy window.
It's just I always just chalk all of this up to like Kubrick just being
Yeah, no, that's
200
just filmmaking.
IQ.
That's just filmmaking, baby. And again,
There's
a
a
shitty
his
director or a shitty whatever, and he edited too, by the way. That's important because a shitty editor
yeah.
would not have nailed this.
No, no. If you want to really, if it's yours, it's yours. You from beginning
Interestingly,
to
I don't know
end.
if you knew this, but sorry, not producer, but production companies hate when the director tries to edit. They hate it.
Oh, boo hoo. Um, yeah, no. Of course, yeah, because I mean,
Editing is the
there's
most important part of the
It's
job.
by far the
absolutely.
most important part of the job. Yeah.
Apparently, a scene that got cut out was the scrapbook. The studio put the kibosh on that.
I
Um,
didn't know that was from them.
I I don't know why else it wouldn't have been. It was shot and all. I don't know.
Which is ironic because it wasn't it Warner Brothers, and the head of Warner Brothers at the time was a CIA asset.
Is Jack Valenti? No, he was the head of the MPAA.
I thought
Talking
he was the head of Warner Brothers too.
No, you're thinking of the fact that he was in fucking Animaniacs.
Hold on.
Jack Valenti, I don't think he worked for Warner Brothers specifically. He was the head of the government MPAA, Motion Picture Association of America, the ones who give the ratings.
I'm
I
gonna have to
love the
start
idea
looking.
you're working with here. It's beautiful, brilliant.
back to Ullman's office. What's fun to watch after the fact is the whole exchange with a cigarette that keeps moving and disappearing, as if someone else, but no one's smoking in that scene.
Right,
So
nobody's smoking, but there's a cigarette
yeah,
that's slowly going down.
who's smoking? And
It's Kubrick.
yeah, definitely, you have to.
He was cooking.
Back, yeah, and then back to the scene in the room with Jack and Danny. Danny enters the room, and we literally see Jack's double in the mirror. And
Yes.
what
Now
and
let's
what
talk about
is
mirrors.
and what does Danny say? Dad, do you feel bad? Not like
Do you feel
nice.
bad or do you feel sick? Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you not feel well? Dad, do
yeah,
you feel
no.
bad? Yeah,
Like
come on,
for
Jared.
what
You
you're
got to
doing.
cop to us that we're right about this, dude. Do you feel bad? He's literally asking him if he has regret about harming him.
What ball? Who else has a ball in the movie? Danny ends up going into room 237 because that ball gets rolled to him. Who else has a ball?
Yeah,
Are you
Jack,
saying
yeah.
that Jack lures him in with the ball?
Well,
or
I'm saying
whatever is possessing
is
Jack.
that it's a non it's speaking of the non-Euclidean nature of the hotel. I'm saying that first of all, there's also worth mentioning here is that 237 is the only room in the entire hotel that has two doors. It's a double door for no reason. It's
Mhm.
randomly a double door.
Well, there's
Um,
many doubles in
but it's the
this.
only hotel room that's a double door.
I've got two tens and two 20s.
But you can make the case that two doors, two people go in there at different times. It's two doors for each of
Hmm.
them, one door for
Hmm.
each one of them. But also, I'm going to say that it doesn't exist. This is the place that Danny copes with the abuse by saying, "Oh, I went into this room and this woman hurt me."
Hmm.
And in Jack's version, he was asleep thinking about murdering his family, and then he went in there to investigate, and a adult woman tries to have sex with him.
Yeah.
But then, for the first time since that incident occurs, he looks in the mirror. And
Hmm.
what does he see? It is not a beautiful woman trying to have sex with him. It is an old hag,
Hmm.
much like a young child would look at any adult nude.
Um, oh man. Like Jack in that moment is
So
a
any child, I don't know if you ever saw your family naked as a
oh,
kid,
of
but like
course,
they
yeah,
look
I know what you
old
mean.
compared to you.
No, I know exactly what you mean.
It's
It's
a
a
shock.
sudden
It's a
shock,
shock.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because it's like, oh my God, this is my first time ever seeing a nude person, and they look so much different than me
Oh.
because of the age difference. Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. So it's similar. So okay, now we're getting into the nitty gritty here with this mirror shit. So there's clearly an aversion for Jack to want to look in the mirror until that point. And then the next scene we really get to spend with Jack is him back in the gold room, and he's lured into the bathroom by a man who is so Delbert Grady supposedly is like some sort of manifestation of a previous caretaker that is now inhabiting the hotel in some capacity. He spills a frothy white liquid onto Jack's clothes.
Of Dutch origin, a bastardization of an originally Brazilian sweet, delicious beverage
I didn't
that
know that.
they call avocat,
Advocat, yeah.
which means a lawyer in Dutch.
Yeah. The devil's advocate. But yeah, so he lures him into the bathroom in which he spends a long time fucking touching his crotch, by the way. So this
That's
is again, it's an
true.
allusion to homosexuality. Whether or not you want to say that he is a pedophile, he's definitely looking at Playgirl. And he's definitely meeting a guy in the bathroom to touch his crotch after he just had a frothy white liquid thrown on him. So there's definitely gay going on, whether or not it's pedophile.
Yeah.
And in this
Mm.
hotel room, in this hotel, or sorry, in this bathroom, he every shot, like I said before, it's reverse. So they keep doing this thing where they're each showing each shot that changes, they're on the opposite side of the room. What is that kind of similar to? It's kind of like looking in a mirror because when you look into a mirror, you see the room but reversed. So this is, by the way, Rob Ager. So shout out to Rob Ager for this take here. But I believe, and Rob Ager believes that this is Jack coping with what he's done now, and he's seeing in the mirror himself and particularly himself pointedly because he is fulfilling the role of a previous caretaker. So he's looking in the mirror and seeing a previous caretaker essentially. So he's seeing himself. But also when you look in the mirror, you see your family because you see your face and you look like your dad. So
The
there's this
child, the father of the man.
child father of the man, yes. So this he's looking in the mirror and he's I believe that that the theme that's playing out here is intergenerational trauma.
Mm.
So when he looks in the mirror, he sees himself, he sees his father, and he sees Danny, and he knows the thing that links the three of them is abuse.
Mhm.
So, and in this scene, by the way, Grady says to him, he's bringing in a nigger.
Cook.
Yeah. Now, okay, I also want to take a side thing, by
And
the
then
way, which is
Jack's like,
yeah, yeah. But I want to again just to jump real quick back to the surface level capitalism thing. I think you can make the case that the hotel being a metaphor for capitalism, capitalism utilizes racism to divide people who would otherwise be in simpatico on a class level. That's what Kubrick's trying to say with that, by the way. Leaving that aside, what I'm saying more is that Grady is saying he's getting a surrogate father instead of you.
Oh,
oh,
And he's
that's
literally a
good. That's going
photo
back
negative
to
of you.
the good teacher. Right, yeah.
oh
He's got a
wow.
surrogate father. He's bringing him in to what is our thing. It's our thing, man.
It's King
um,
Oz here in
yeah, they're in
Colorado.
this mirror.
Wow.
He's literally I just want to make this clear. He's not talking to fucking a ghost. He's talking to himself in the mirror, and in doing so, addressing the thing that he hates about himself and his father, which is this cycle of abuse that's being perpetuated intergenerationally. And he's saying Danny is breaking the cycle by finding a surrogate father that is not us who's going to fucking touch him.
Mm.
And that needs to be corrected.
Corrected.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm,
Um, Go ahead. Go
Apropos
ahead.
of nothing, my girlfriend said he looks like he has dog ears about Jack's haircut.
Well, that's another thing too, is that like they make
With
the
a comb
illusion
over. Yeah.
Yeah,
they make the illusion that Jack is the bull, the Minotaur.
oh, we have to finally get to the labyrinth eventually. Um,
That we'll
So,
finish on that.
yeah.
I mean,
But
but he's supposed to be an animal. Like there are points
yeah.
where he kind of looks like a wolf. And isn't
Hmm.
there a point where they're watching
He says,
like
little pigs, let me in," like the big bad wolf. Yeah.
yeah, like
But he's talking to a child. It's like very, very coded with the like, oh,
Hmm.
I'm gonna be evil in the language that a child understands. Like what a child's archetypical evil is the big bad wolf.
Hmm.
I just want to point this out. I'm a big fan of the Dick Halloran home decor.
Oh, brother.
Yeah, the Afrofuturism shit. Yeah. Yo, well, I think that might be. He's saying this guy definitely doesn't touch kids. He likes black
Hell
adult
yeah,
women,
brother.
clearly.
Hell yeah, brother.
There's
Or
nothing
But
there's nothing more different than an adult black woman and a little white boy.
I think there's also maybe
oh shit.
since we're digging pretty deep, that maybe
How
it's like
about
some
not
kind
cute?
of um was it like a talisman that it's on both sides of his bedroom, right? He's got
Yeah,
one
I
over
saw
the
that
top of his
too.
head, one on top of his head, above his head,
Uh-huh.
and he's got another one above the television. And you know, when they're curvaceous, they're ample. It's very like they're fertile.
Easy now.
Yeah. Well, also
It
I
but
think
but
any sort
the
of
mother it's the
dualism.
mother goddess
Yeah.
almost like
Mm,
protect
yeah.
like a protection.
I
Much
think you're
like the
right about
mother
that, and I also think
goddess
that there's like
thing.
sort of thematic connection between Dick Halloran and Indians too. And I
Oh
think that
yeah.
there's like sort of like a historical connection between Indians and black people as well. Because I mean, a lot of them have black. I'm sorry, a lot of black people have Native American like intermixing in their
Of
genetic,
course, yeah.
background or whatever. But also, I think he's directly making. I think you're right about that, Jared. As Mother Goddess is like they're drawing a sort of comparison between like the animistic sort of um Indian uh thing, and then also him doing the Afrofuturism woman worship thing.
Well, it's not only that, but like, you see that Dick talks about his grandmother, and clearly his grandmother had a huge impact on his life. So
Yes,
there's
that's
this
true too.
Mm.
there's this
Well,
kind
it's
of
because he
like
doesn't know his dad. I mean,
Oh man, yeah, because his dad tried to kill him with an axe. You would think he didn't.
yes, that's what I'm saying. Who knows how he got that shining powers, man?
Oh shit. Um, the two women in his room, almost like I almost threw up the bathroom at there trying to illustrate it, but are like antenna. That he's sitting
I would
between.
say it's probably the fucking two pillars on the fucking the temple.
Sure, Joaquin and Boaz.
Yeah,
Um,
Jacob
yeah,
and Boaz, yeah. Because that is Kubrick's shit.
Jake
Like
and Bo.
he loves using those two. And by the way, Gemini, speaking of
Oh
Gemini,
yeah.
the two twins, that is definitely also a direct reference to the Freemason slash
Hmm.
Kabbalistic theology of the two pillars on the temple there. What was I gonna say? Okay,
Kubrick was reading Freud in preparation for this.
shocking.
He was reading the uncanny. Interesting stuff.
What's in the uncanny?
Basically a discussion of what upsets us. And there's some great references to other German guys talking about. So this is great here. The German term Heimlich
Hmm.
means for something to come come out, or literally it means a secret coming out, something
Yeah.
that um, something that is hidden, but we're sort of comfortable with it. Unheimlich is this idea of, and that's what is makes up the uncanny, is the idea of something coming out that should not be revealed, or
Mm.
something that if revealed will cause great you know, reverberations. So, and yeah, that kind of gels with
I think so,
what's
yeah.
yeah. I mean, because at the whole time we're just a centimeter off of what the literal thing is staring us right in the face. I know Jared, you takes some issue
I
with
think we've I think
a
we've
few of the
converted him.
arguments.
I think we've converted him.
But
Um,
why Kubrick? And it's funny going back to what you said about how he doesn't he just picks a genre, then decides what story to tell, and he doesn't care about genre, and it's almost like he doesn't really care about the story either. He cares about what ideas he can fit into the
he can put
story.
in, yes, through his own personal
Yeah, well,
genius.
because most of his shit is it's other people's work, novels and such.
Yeah.
So, um,
Oh, so I think we could do Minotaur now because we're already over 2 hours. So, is
Yeah,
there
I don't
anything
want
else
to.
I want to? I'm trying to
I
think
don't.
before we do Minotaur. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I didn't get to because, like, we got the Federal Reserve stuff, we got the
Native
molestation
American.
stuff, we got the Indian stuff, we got the time, the lights. We got the intergenerational trauma, the mirrors. So yeah, I guess
Oh,
the next.
we gotta do the CIA op because
Oh
there's
right.
the
Well, oh yeah. Thank you. I was just gonna say. A lot of people theorize that the correction is like a CIA MK Ultra activation term or something. Like.
yeah, I
because
like
in
that.
the game room there's that poster and it's
Oh fuck yes. Thank you.
the
Monarch.
monarch,
Yeah.
but it's like a guy skiing, and that's not a skiing. It's not a place for skiing. It's
And
not for
it's
winter
also not
sports
it's also not like a brand of skiing equipment either, by the way. Yeah.
Mhm.
So in that same shot that we were just talking about with the two Gemini twins there, and behind it is the Minotaur, there's also a poster in the background for it looks like a skier, yeah. And it says Monarch 90 or 90 Monarch, like 1990, which is obviously 10 years in the future. So what is he fucking talking about? Um, but Monarch, for those not in the know, by the way, I should say, by the way, Patrick and I did an episode a while back. I can't remember. Possessor, I think, is the name of the film. But we did an analysis of a film by the David Cronenberg's son. I don't remember his first name. But he did like a skitsed out movie where it's all direct reference to MK Ultra stuff, and there's a very very pointed Monarch motif where like they keep showing what do you call it? Butterflies. Patrick, I was just talking about Possessor a minute ago. Or they
Yes, by
definitely
Brandon.
very on the nose, very on the nose. But for this though, it's not very on the nose. It's very in the background, and there's a very mild sort of visual motif of butterflies throughout, and it's usually through a mirror. I should mention, by the way, these butterflies are usually viewed through the mirror. But also again, like the Monarch poster that's in that room, which is like the first time that Danny is sort of encountering the supernatural at the hotel. Now, for those who don't know, of course, that's a CIA project that has been somewhat declassified. It's like a sub project of MK Ultra that has to specifically do with mind control assassinations or something. So it's part of the limited hangout thing that they do give you. Whereas I personally think that the real implications of MK Ultra are like the societal sort of implications of mind control essentially. But you know, these really pointed assassinations or whatever, like with an activation code like correction,
Mhm.
um, is I mean, that's an aspect as well, of course. Oh, also, the other thing is that scene where every time that what's his name talks to Grady, by the way, Jack talks to Grady, he's either looking in a mirror or he's looking at a like piece of reflective metal. So his head is literally against that door because Wendy locked him in the pantry. And so he's talking to Grady through it, but it's a fucking reflective metal door. He's talking to himself.
Right.
Hmm.
Oh, also, sorry to just put this
Please.
jam this
Yeah.
in there, but the way that we're introduced to that pantry is weird and it's very Kubrickian, meaning the camera follows Catman Crothers walking through the kitchen and he snakes around in a way to sort of deceive you. There's two fucking doors to this thing.
Hmm. Yeah.
Ah, yeah.
There's two doors to it. And why wouldn't they have? It's not like the freezer where you have to have only one door to let stuff out. It's a fucking warm pantry.
Yeah.
That actually makes sense.
Yeah. So she thought she was safe, but really he let himself out the other door. But he gave himself permission with his ghost persona.
Yeah. Interesting. If I may, just while we're on the topic of Jack, and what he's doing there,
You say there's a
so,
character named Jack in this movie? Really?
what's his face? Jack something. Jack Torres, Torrent.
Jack Tora.
Yeah. Um, so in the book, it's his buddy that gets him the job, Al Shockley.
Hmm.
After he, what was it? Oh,
He he
after he
hit
got
some
fired.
kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was drunk and he hit some kid well, this also plays into like the whole class aspect is that he teaches at some rich prep school in
Mm-hmm.
Vermont and he's got his problems. He hits this kid, he loses this job because the
Right.
kid's an asshole because he's a rich asshole who
Right.
doesn't like respect like Jack's
His
just
authority.
yeah, he's well no, it's that the rich kid doesn't like respect the fact that Jack's a human being because he's a
Right. Because
spoiled
he's
rich
rich. He's got
yeah,
a affluenza.
yes. So they're like it's kind of in the background there because now they have to uproot their entire lives and move to halfway across the
Yeah, it's
country.
not mentioned in the movie, but yes, that is the reason why that he loses the job. He doesn't lose the job at for ripping his son's arm out of his socket. That's private stuff. He loses the job because he punches a rich kid, and the rich kid's parents get him fired over it, even though the kid was being a shithead.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think you're right that but I think it's possible that that made it into the movie in another version too. By the way, because it's right in keeping with Kubrick shit. So for sure. So Patrick, lay it on us with the Minotaur. We're finishing up now.
If I may, just real quick before the Minotaur, real quick, this is some stupid shit. So Kubrick has a cousin. His
I knew
name's
this was coming.
his name's Paul. Should I get to this now or after?
I
Because
think this
No,
could
just
be a full episode, but he's clearly got his cousin's in the fucking Jewish mob.
if you really want to do a full episode on this, we could do two. So
That's what I'm
fine.
saying. So let's not waste it
Teaser,
on the Shining
baby.
episode. That is a teaser. We'll do that
Fair
episode.
enough.
So Kubrick's first cousin. This is a direct message from Patrick.
If I
Kubrick's
may,
first cousin was an insurance investigator, insurance fraudster, fired from LAPD for moonlighting as an abortion procurer, multiple murder, gun runner, and card holding member of the John Birch Society.
oh fucking based.
Well, I don't know
and
if Bay's abortion procurer, but
but
I
and
will say
also
this is that he was connected. We'll say that.
And this ties into Black Dahlia. This ties in Richard Ramirez. This ties in, what do you freaking call it? God dang old, this
Zodiac.
goes back, it goes full circle right back to Kubrick through artwork. And if I may just send you one link that you can show on the screen, and we
Yes,
can
okay.
talk about Kubrick's inspirations, artistically, and where this, whole Minotaur and the Labyrinth thing might have come from. Kubrick had some bit parts in movies early on in life, and he was real big into surrealist art. And here is the
Oh,
Minotaur
Man Ray.
by Man Ray. This is the Minotaur. Interesting, fun stuff.
He's
Um,
headless.
this goes back to, yeah. So we're not. I'm not gonna kill the lead here, but we'll get back. Let's talk the labyrinth because there's too much there already, and I don't want to keep Jared from correcting his.
The fam. But yeah, so yeah, lay it on me for the Minotaur and the Labyrinth. I
Well, I
didn't
mean,
look too much in this. I tell you what. Oh, this is important.
oh,
I looked into it because I remembered I knew I said this at the beginning of the episode, but so it's kind of a repeat. But when I said, "Oh, the book does not have a maze, the movie does have a maze. There's bull imagery. Clearly this is the Minotaur, King Minos, Theseus." And I
mhm,
mistakenly remembered the solution, the end of the story of Theseus in the Minotaur,
mhm,
as being he retraced his steps backwards to get back um the labyrinth. As it turns out, that is not what happened. He had a spider girlfriend who knitted him a web, which he brought
nice.
through. The first spider, by the way. She pissed off a god and got turned into a spider, but he still loved her or whatever. So she gave him a
Based.
string that he would carry into the labyrinth so then he could then turn around and fall it back out. Okay, we got that. You can maybe elucidate more on that. But so I mistakenly remembered that as being the same way that Danny does get out of the labyrinth and escapes Jack's wrath, which is he steps backwards in his own footprints in the snow. It's very
Mhm,
clearly telegraphed to you as a viewer that the reason why Jack is able to track him through this labyrinth is because he's following his footsteps. So Danny,
mhm,
wise beyond his years, discovers the idea to step backwards in his own steps and then sort of step to the side and then clear away the footprints that allowed him to get to the side and allow Jack to pass and then escape back the way, following his own footprints back. Now, I I googled what Greek myth. What I said, typed all that in, and I said, "What Greek myth is that?" And it said nothing, but it did say that is a trick that Native American people did to
oh
escape
yeah.
their pursuers. So
Got you,
he broke the spell.
white man.
He broke the sort of cycle by
Perfect. Yeah.
utilizing the social technology of the engine.
And broke the cycle of abuse
Yes.
too by
Let's
stepping
hope.
back. And
Well,
Doctor Sleep is not canon with the film we are discussing by
We're
no
not
means.
talking about that fucking shit. Speaking of bad bullshit, cash grab shit. Yes, Patrick?
Sorry. Um, the cremation of care,
Yes.
caretaker.
Caretaker.
Shit.
Yes. Take care. Take care. Remember Joe Pesci says that to
take care now.
Sharon.
Take
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 care
take
care.
care
now.
now.
That's so funny, dude. Oh my God. Uh, you shit kicking.
All right, go.
You
Tell me about the fucking
motherfucker,
labyrinth. I
you.
didn't look
Well,
into this.
well, I mean, it's the idea of it's a perfect representation of originally they were in ancient Greece and Crete and
Minos, the
Minoan
Minoan
culture,
island. Yeah, the Minoan culture. Yeah.
right? They would do it with one line continuously, and this, if I can make sense of it, it's the idea of you're one distinct self. You are a person, but you are like literally your brain is folded in on itself, much like a
Yeah.
labyrinth.
It's
You're
sort
a
of like the
mystery
path
to
you follow
yourself.
in life. And also, by the way, I have to say this is that there's a motif of this in Greek mythology that there's a labyrinth to get into hell or to get into the afterlife or
Hmm.
whatever.
Hmm.
So that's definitely definite thing. So go ahead.
But and the idea of it gels perfectly, and like I just pointed out there, and for the audio listeners who aren't aware, we I don't think we described the photo at all, the artwork by Man Ray, but it's a disembodied head by done with shadows, and their arms raised up so all you really see is a torso and arms, and appears like it's called a minotaur, and
Yeah.
fits. No, that's from 1934, and Kubrick certainly was well read enough to understand this myth, and I think it's
Oh, I
a
have to say this. So part of the
please.
myth is that the Athens civilization, which is the center of all of these Greek myths, the reason why we know about all these Greek myths is because of the survival of the Athens culture.
Hmm.
Um, and in the legends of Athens, mind you, by the way, the Minoan culture that it describes is gone. In fact, we went
Hmm.
into like, so shouts out to our earlier episode about Atlantis, by the way. A lot of people
Yes.
speculate that this story of the fall of Atlantis is a sort of metaphorical representation of the fall of the Minoan civilization. Um,
Hmm.
but my point being is that we see this retellings of the civilization through the lens of the Athens society. And in this lore, in this legend with Theseus, the story goes is that every year that the Athens city state would have to give 7 male and 7 female sacrifices to the labyrinth to sate the first of all the desires of King Minos, the evil king, but more importantly, that within it is this minotaur, this gigantic half man, half bull, that would sort of take sustenance from these 7 and 7 male and female victims. Which I mean, again, if you've read Gerard, this is really obvious. This is a piece of, again, I'll use the word again, social technology in order to mitigate sort of social problems that crop up. Is this idea that if you put all your sins into one or a collection of people in this example, 7 and 7, that will make the rest of you more pure and purified, et cetera, et cetera. And so, but the fact that it's really interesting because it's actually viewed as a negative thing in this story, whereas in most ancient myths, they sort of glorify this process of sacrificing to
Hmm.
purify. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, ancient myths are propaganda. They are, they're all the the cover up after the fact of whatever harsh realities um,
That's
cannot
a
be
pretty harsh
addressed.
reality already. They just fed things to a giant bull, man.
Yeah, but I want it's people were happier to believe that than to like
To know the
revel
reality, which is they
But
gutted them in
revelance.
the fucking bottom of the temple and fucking ate
what
them or
Yeah.
can
something.
I ask? I know we've been talking a bunch a bit about the Minotaur, but uh, wasn't Moloch a bull too?
Moloch was a
That's
bull too. Yes, he was.
So
perfect.
so so it's like
Child
uh
sacrifice is right there. Yeah.
I
Hmm.
and like the whole point of the hotel is also to be a labyrinth unto itself. Like we've been talking about things that don't make sense, rooms and stuff that go to nowhere. That's a maze.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Exactly.
So
Oh, also, I just real quick on your point about Moloch or Baal or whatever, there is in the Bible, they say that the Phoenicians are the ones who introduced the Molech character to the legendarium of the Canaanites or whatever. And a lot of people academically consider the term Phoenicians to be the Minoans.
Hmm. Interesting. Um, yeah, no, that pretty much covers the Minotaur. And now you take all that and lay it backwards over the, film. It's,
Yeah,
you
so
know,
what are we trying to say here?
because we've talked nothing of the actual, like, how it
Surface
made us
level plot.
feel, like, or how we liked it. Do we like this film, folks?
Yeah, I like
Oh
it.
yeah.
It's
Oh yeah, okay.
I like it. I
For
want to give this
anyone
a high
wondering.
score. But I'll say this. Yeah, so here's the thing. It works on six levels. It works on the level where you're just watching a spoopy movie about a crazy guy going crazy in the hotel because he's got cabin fever.
6 million
That's how I watch it
dollars.
when I watched it as a teenager. Great movie about alcoholism, just like the book. I had read the book first, believe it or not. I know it's crazy, but I was a big King guy.
Mm.
Um,
Book's good.
book's good, yeah. Nothing bad to say about the book. It's just different. There's of course the level.
A couple goofy things here and there.
I don't even know what to say. It's good. I don't know what else to say. Yeah, it's good because you get to like it
Wait, the
is like
movie?
yes, the movie.
Oh,
But like
damn.
a
Okay.
Kubrick movie in general, it's like it when you look at it, it's like one of those fucking those stereograms where it's like you dumb idiot. It's not a schooner, it's a sailboat. Wait, do you guys not know that reference from
You
Mallrats?
dumb bastard.
You dumb bastard. That's right. Yeah. You dumb
Dumb
bastard.
bastard.
It's not a schooner, it's a sailboat.
Where's that
um
from? The
from
first
Mallrats.
Mallrats. Ethan Suplee.
It's
Mallrats.
Ethan Suplee's
Ah,
best line of the film. Yeah.
I think
He
his
just
best
says
work.
that. He's
You
talking to
know
a
what?
kid too.
There is no Easter Bunny. That guy down there, he's just a guy in a fucking suit.
He's just trying to make a living, that guy.
Yeah.
Leave him
But anyway,
alone.
oh yeah, I forgot.
Ethan
Jared.
Suplee, white
No,
nationalist.
Patrick is uncultured. He's never seen Mallrats.
Oh man.
Not the
I've
high culture that is Mallrats, obviously. The
No,
Bing Bing
he's
Wahoo fucking superhero LARP movie.
no, he did mention American Patrick made reference to American History X, which Ethan Suplee is in.
He's in that. Yeah, yeah, true.
My favorite work is when he was in My Name Is Earl. That was
He like
that's
yeah, for some reason very well read on My Name Is Earl too, by the way.
good show.
But
It's a damn good show.
okay, sorry. I must say this. But it's almost like a stereogram, which is like one of those images, magic eye images, where you look at it and you can see more than
Oh,
you'd spend all day looking at this fucking thing.
side note, Ethan Suplee, super nice guy.
You've met him?
Uh, on Instagram, I've interacted with him.
Oh, well, okay, good. I'm glad to hear that.
Super nice guy.
Seems
I
like
would be
it.
too if I was him. He doesn't work.
He works out.
If I was an actor and I could support myself
for
being
damn
an
sure.
actor, I think I would be a jolly fella.
Nah.
He's a super nice guy.
I bet. Shouts out Ethan Suplee if you want to come on the show. Obviously, we
Please.
can talk about your work or not. I don't really give. We could just have you say you
Come to
dumb
work.
bastard. I would be happy actually. But yeah, so it's like one of those fucking stereograms. You could just look at it all day, or you could just look at it on the surface level if you like, depending on what you're in the damn mood for. So, okay, let's finish up here. I will say my review score, utilizing the Cinema Apocalypse Now rating system, obviously a 10 being the best film of all time, a 5 meaning it is a recommended film to watch. So, for those not familiar with the system, it must be stated 5 is a good rating. If you get a 5, that means you have a good movie on your hands. I'm not that I'm going to give it a 5. I'm just trying to explain like sort of what the way it works. But I would have to say that this movie is like high 8, so like probably like a 8.75 probably. Edging on a 9, but yeah, it's very good. Very very good. Not my favorite Kubrick film, but a very 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 good film that stands above many of its not just contemporaries, but like, film as a genre. A film as a
Jared,
medium.
Do you wanna
Jared,
Oh,
give us your
I was
Jared,
gonna say
comment.
8.5.
Good score.
I just, it's usually a top 5. Like if you ask around October, they always put those
Top
like
100
lists.
horror movies. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's always like top 10, top 5 horror films. It's not the number one. Like it's usually that or The Exorcist. They say it's like the scariest movie of all time.
I don't know that this is the thing. Spooky things don't scare me,
Right.
but this isn't a, I mean, you can view it as a scary movie, but I also just think it's a entertaining and
I,
what's the word? It makes me think.
I think I also I gotta say like Jack's performance in it is like amazing.
Oh
He
Just
yeah.
plays the
that
same guy in every movie. I mean, he's good. I'm not trying to say he's a bad actor, but like he's kind of just doing Jack every movie.
Hey, he well, Kubrick let him Jack do Jack in this
Yeah,
one.
well, that we didn't even touch on that, which is the fact that Jack Nicholson is a sus guy, by the way, letting Roman Polanski sexually abuse a child in his house where he's away. Sure. And yeah, I also Rob Ager makes this point where Kubrick, breaking all precedents, released a making of documentary of this showing a lot of behind the scenes stuff, which is something he never does. And if you watch it, the majority of the movie is of the making of documentary is Jack Nicholson being a fucking creep to every woman on set. Like almost pulling his dick out and shit. Like,
oh, he was high as a kite.
I'm sure, but he was doing it to Kubrick's 14-year-old daughter who's holding the camera.
Oh, that's a little weird.
Yeah.
Mm, no.
A
So
little
whatever,
weird.
man. I'm just saying I think that it's possible that Kubrick was trying to soak Jack, much like he was trying to soak Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman when he made Eyes Wide Shut. It famously caused their divorce
Damn.
because he viewed it as I'm sure he viewed it as a sham marriage and political
Sure.
marriage. I don't know if you know this, but Nicole Kidman's family grandfather maybe is like the Jeffrey Epstein of Australia.
Really?
Her father, I think.
Or father. I thought it might have been
Yeah.
grandfather, but yeah, it's not a good scene. So that's what I mean. Like casting her in that role is weird, and also the
Yeah.
married couple angle, and the making them break up and putting extra stress on them stuff. It's like it seems like what he likes to do is soak people when he makes movies.
Yeah, yeah. You
Who
don't
is
really
that?
see Keir Dula doing a lot of films, you know.
Who's Kiefer Dula?
Keir Dula is the Dave Bowman.
Yeah, Dave Bowman from 2001.
Oh, 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 no kidding. He's got a funny name. Cool. Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's probably Irish.
I didn't catch that. What's your favorite Kubrick film, Jared, if I may ask?
It's either The Shining or Full Metal Jacket. Or the first 45 minutes of Full Metal
Oh,
Jacket.
fuck that! I like the whole
Oh
movie.
shit.
No, it's a great movie. The whole thing's
Okay.
great, but you have to admit, like boot camp's just
No, I think the whole. Why would you watch the first half if you didn't watch the second half?
no, I watched I watched the
I
whole
know
thing.
you do, but I'm saying what it doesn't work without the whole movie.
What is this? Some kind of sick joke? You better get your head out of your
I
ass.
think
I'll
it's
take a
something about the
giant shit on
duality
you.
of man, sir.
What is this Mickey Mouse bullshit?
Oh, one little quick little thing. We got to get out of here, but I
No,
was just
no,
gonna
but
say.
Patrick's got to give his rating.
Oh yeah, give me a rating.
9.
Good choice.
Wow.
I
That's
love
very
this.
high
Yeah.
praise. I
Yeah.
want to say this is that Bugs Bunny is very often referred to as a sort of like a trickster god archetype kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing. And they call him
Bugs
Doc. And there's
Boone?
also Bugs Bunny cartoons in it, Bugs Bunny imagery in it. And but notably also Native Americans also have a trickster god called Coyote.
Huh. Okay.
What is Big
Saying
Chungus though?
Big Chungus, I don't know,
That's
but I
not
never
it.
saw Big Chungus.
Kubrick saw Big Chungus. He probably packed his bags going back to America and
He's like, I gotta fucking fix Hollywood, man.
yeah.
What are they doing back there, Big Chungus? All right, we're done. Okay, Jared, is
Folks,
anyone to
thanks.
promote any friends you want to shout out?
Hell
No, I
yeah.
just want to I want to thank Rob Ager.
Yes, thank you,
For
Rob Ager. Thank you, Jay Dyer. Thank you. Who else did we cite, possibly?
Truth Stream Media, I want
There
to
you
give a
go.
shout out to.
Whoever they
They did a
are.
great little they did a great little series. Um uh yeah, it's
Yeah,
good
so
stuff.
thank you for listening, everybody. I hope you liked it. I hope it was made sense. I think it did. I'm pretty proud of that. I think it was pretty intelligible. Pretty
I
intelligible.
I think once people, if anything you haven't thought of or noticed already consciously, you go back now and these are
Yeah.
just different lenses to watch the film through.
I know you were doing a Baudrillard reference there, but this is like you said, it's the map, it's not the territory.
Right.
It kind of is a map though. So now go back and watch the movie and like use the map we provided for you to go to the places in the territory that you'd like to go to. Yeah,
Yeah,
so check that
that's
out.
where you step.
And watch the movie again. That's what I want to promote. www.historyhomos.com for the RSS feed. We're also available on iTunes, Spotify, BitChute, Odyssey, Rumble, Rockfin, and most importantly, historyhomospod.substack.com. If you like the show, you can get more of it, 100% more of it every week. These episodes come out on Sunday. There's a bonus episode that comes out on Substack every Thursday, and it's a real episode. Little radio tease here. Those I know a lot of people message me and talk to me in the group chat to say I signed up because I wanted to hear the Neuromancer episode. Well, I'm pleased to report that not this week, but next week will be the follow-up Neuromancer episode to the Neuromancer episode where Patrick and I will do an analysis of the sequel to Neuromancer, Count Zero, which I'm well on the way to reading again.
Oh, I thought it was Mona Lisa Overdrive, or is
That's
that
the
the
third
third one? Third one.
Yeah. But my point being is that on the bonus episode, we do something akin to this episode. It's not just, we're not going to hit stop. And I do this every time, by the way, but I'm not going to hit stop and be like, all right, guys, what the fuck are we going to talk about this week? I have no idea. I'm completely busy. That's not what we do. Weeks plan in advance. We do real content. So please, if you like the show, please go check it out. It would really help us out. And, thank you. So historyhomospod.substack.com. We're really rising, by the way. We're getting up there towards the top. Curtis Yarvin, I'm coming for you, baby. Uh, and yeah,
Don't
so
buy any unripe bananas,
yeah,
because you won't live to eat them. Sorry.
that's funny. So yeah, follow us across social media at History Homos Pod. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, email me at historyhomospod@gmail.com. And also, if you have any, if you want to buy a T-shirt, you can send me your size and address, and we'll figure out the details about shipping it to you. But also, time of recording, still the friendliest place on the internet on Telegram. The History Homos Telegram chat, t.me/historyhomos is the channel. T.me/historyhomos chat is the chat. Thank you for listening. Die with dignity. Patrick, what do you want to say to get out of here?
In all things mysterious, never explain.
Later, homos.
glass and blood, frozen time beneath the flood. Father, son, and shadowed face, trapped inside a training space. Behind the door, the puppet sleeps, memories sewn in traumas deep. A trigger phrase, a mirror break, the past returns for old time's sake. We were programmed to dream, to obey, to forget, to scream. In the Monarch Hotel, where they fracture the cell. We were wired, regret, built to serve and to reset. Rooms with the fatty seven, a gate dressed like heaven. All work, no play. Show me what he sees.